Welcome to the NWO Sports Podcast. Here's your host, Logan Bailey.
Welcome to the NWO Sports Podcast, football edition, brought to you by primary sponsor BSN Sports. I'm your host, Logan Bailey, and joined today by AJ Fairchild, Tony Fairchild, and the legend next to me, Michael Hirn, is joining us today. Keith Brown, unfortunately, cannot join us because he's still kind of battling an illness, so we wish him speedy recovery. So
that and his lawyer and I have a whole thing that he's got to stay 50 feet away from me. Yes. He knows. Look, he knows why.
So we've got a good replacement for today, and Michael Hirn, he's able to join us. So it's something we've been looking forward to. Glad to finally have him on. So guys, we enter week number 14 and seen a lot of good playoff football. So what are your thoughts going into this week?
For me, it was pretty exciting to go watch PH play Hopewell Loudon. Kind of on the phone watching Liberty Center at the same time and checking out all the games. Exciting time of year, that's for sure.
Yeah, it was definitely a fun game. We'll get into the game recap, but, man, definitely show that PH is better than a 4 seed going into that one. A lot of good football this weekend.
And which game were you at last week, Mike?
St. Mary's in London.
How'd that game go?
London's fast. That's pretty much. Yeah, it was sad to see St. Mary's. I mean, they only had 100 total yards. And they had, I think, 30 at the half. This is a very un-St. Mary's-like thing. They had 33 rushes for 32 yards.
Wow.
Again, London's defense is fast, and unfortunately 30-7 the wrong way, but still a heck of a season. I mean, to have the 2 weeks before that where a kid who's never caught a pass at the varsity level, let alone been on a play this year, and a sophomore in Parker Beam, catches a 41-yard touchdown to win the game, and then you have to make a defensive stand after that, after you just blew 4th and 20, to score on 4th and 20 with a game on the line, and then to turn around and kick a field goal to win the next week. That's a pretty good ride.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's pretty incredible. And that's the thing in playoffs, too, is we've seen a lot of really good football, but eventually runs got to come to an end. And fortunately for us, we still have 3 teams in our local coverage area still in it. Yep. So that's pretty solid. And even I was comparing this year to last year, I believe even last week we only had, I think, 3 teams, and it was the same 3, Liberty
Yep.
Center, Columbus Grove, and Patrick Henry, but we had the addition of Leipsic and Napoleon making the regional semis this year. So
right.
A little bit more success this year from the local Northwest Ohio area. So still fortunate and glad to see those 3 teams still in the playoffs. So what we'll do next, we'll look at how we did for last week's picks. So looking at last week, it was solid for the entire crew, all going 5-0 except for Matthew. Matthew, unfortunately, was the sole one out that went 4-1, his only loss being Leipsic, which that I agree was a tough game to pick. We had all kind of discussed that one a little bit back and forth. But, yeah, Delphus St. John's as the 15 seed is really tearing things up and pretty incredible to do. I think they're the first 15 seed to make it to the regional finals since the expansion. So really nice job out of Delphus St. John's. I think it goes to a testament to the conference that they play in the MAC. I mean, that's obviously everyone knows it's one of the best small school conferences in the entire state, if not the best. So they're still making a run as well. But on the year, myself, Logan, remains in first with a record of 179-41, good for 81%. Now have a 3-game lead on Matthew in second with 176-44, good for 80%. Third is Tony with 171-49 record, 78%. Fourth is AJ with a record of 170-50, good for 77%. And in fifth is Keith with a record of 168-52, good for 76%. I know the real reason why Keith's not here is so we can't blow him smoke for being in last place still. So,
but how many people do you think it would take being in last place with 76% correct?
Right.
Still,
With as crazy as high school football is.
Yeah.
especially this year.
Right.
There's been a lot of weird games that you didn't expect to win or loss to
That
go the
Leipsic
way
game.
they went. Yeah.
I mean, it was tied. Who would have thought a safety would have had it 15-13?
Yeah.
And then, obviously, the touchdown at the end, but a 15 versus 11
Yep.
in the regional semifinals. Raise your hand if you had that at the beginning of the year.
No one at all.
No.
I want to raise my hand, but it just sounds insane.
It does. Well, that's even going to say, 15 seed in the regional finals, like I said, too. I mean, it's just incredible, and I think that sparks even more debate because, obviously, the seeds, that's always a hot topic with the expansion. Should there be 16 teams? Should there not? That's the big question going on right now, but it's interesting to see, some of these anomalies kind of make it out. So, yeah, I agree. I still think 10 teams. 10 teams or less.
I think 12 teams is good. Give a couple teams a bye. I like that idea the most. And I think if you would drop it back down to 12, not that it'll ever happen, but you need to take into consideration strength of schedule. So that way a team like Delphus still gets in because obviously they've played tough competition in the MAC. So they still deserve to be in the playoffs. So dropping them down to 12, they wouldn't have made it. even though they very much deserve it.
Or their 7 losses are still playing.
Exactly. Yeah. So
I mean,
you got to take into consideration even their losses. That's the thing that people talk about is like, well, if they don't win games, it still doesn't matter. It's like, well, but they're losing games against some of the best teams in the state.
Recovery got in with 2 losses or 2 wins last year, and then won 2 rounds.
Right. You got to take the losses into account too, not just the who did they beat and who did they beat that beat so and so. You got to take their losses into account and see what the combined record of those teams that they lost to is.
Yeah, we've had that discussion. If you only take in a win percentage of the teams, then the teams that if you're playing good competition, it doesn't help you at all because
it discourages competition.
Yeah,
really.
and I don't want to play good competition then because I want to make sure I win everything.
Yeah.
And I think this, you got to do something so that you get rewarded for playing tough competition.
Well, and then some of those teams are, I don't want to say their own worst enemy, but they're in a conference that you play 9 conference games. Okay, for instance, the NWC plays like 7.
Yep.
All right, the WBL plays 9.
Right.
The MAC plays 8. Like, you can't kind of help how a lot of those teams are every year. But I talked to actually a basketball coach who is, what's the way to say this? He doesn't have a team right now because his football team is still playing.
Oh.
And I've had this conversation a handful of times with this coach, and his point was you have to get rid of Harbins. You want to do it. You want to do everything the old way with the numbers. There has to be a better way to do the numbers because, again, kind of like you said with St. John's. All right, well, show me. Well, they lost to 7 teams. Okay. But the combined record of those teams is, they have like 7 losses between them.
Yeah.
All right. 3 of them were ranked number 1 at any point in the year. Like, there's got to be some kind of more balance so you don't have these 85-0 first-round games. Yeah. And a lot of the coaches, what'd they pick? 12. We just zipped right around that and went to 16. Why?
Leave that one up to the imagination.
Money, 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 money.
Yeah, I ran into that in softball 2 years ago when we went to the regional finals. Everybody was kind of writing us off. They thought, we surprised people. We had 8 losses, but 6 of our losses come to teams with 20 wins, and a lot of those teams made it deep into playoffs. I'm like, why did we surprise people? We lost games, but we lost to 20-win teams. So the same thing here. If you're losing to teams that are putting up, going 8-1 or 8-2, 9-1. There's got to be something that rewards that team.
There's no perfect way.
Right.
But, it's just like the college football playoff. All right, if you do it 12, then 13 is going to have a case or whatever you do.
Yeah.
But I just don't know that this way is the way we go long term.
I think for the general consensus that most people on like our side of things, the media and on the outside looking in kind of agree with that. And most coaches, I think, kind of agree with that. It's whoever's making decisions are just not on the same page as the rest of
that, and we all hate only having games on Friday nights. But
that too, as media, we'd love to see more football.
Well, we complain about everything. I mean,
True,
free food, but it's not good enough free food. No.
Yeah, but I guess my final statement with this, because I know this is a topic we discuss a lot of times. But with this day and age, and the different algorithms and programs that we have, Drew Pasture, I think Martin RPI is another one. There's a lot of things out there that take into consideration strength of schedule, a lot of other different factors to kind of consider into getting a better seeding for the tournament playoffs. Yep. I think we got to look at something like that, and I think it's definitely doable. It's just a matter of someone finally pulling the trigger and following through with it. All right. Well, we're going to get into some Week 13 game recaps, and we're going to start first with the NWO Sports Game of the Week. This game we were covering live in person at Donnell Stadium, so we were glad to be at this one. That was the 4-seed Patrick Henry facing off against the 1-seed Hopewell Loudon. Patrick Henry would win this one 35-7. At halftime, Patrick Henry was up 28-0. Total offense for the game, Patrick Henry had 319 yards with 272 rushing, and this is another unbelievable stat. Hopewell Loudon had 55 yards of total offense with 30 yards passing. Hopewell Loudon coming into this game was averaging 344.8 yards a game and 33.1 points per game. Turnovers for the game, Patrick Henry only had 1 with an interception. Hopewell Loudon, again, going to a testament to that Patrick Henry defense, 6 turnovers forced, 5 interceptions, 1 fumble. Time of possession, another crazy stat. Patrick Henry had the ball for 33 minutes and 7 seconds compared to Hopewell Loudon's 14 minutes and 53 seconds. So some top players of note from Patrick Henry. Quarterback, defensive back, Lincoln Krieger, 3 of 9, 47 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown. He did have 1 interception. He also had 27 carries for 144 rushing yards, good for 5.3 yards a carry, 3 rushing touchdowns on the night, and he also contributed 1 interception on defense as well. Running back, defensive back, Cal Schrader. I like this kid a lot. You know, this is the first time we got to see Patrick Henry play live in person, and this guy is an absolute ball of energy. He had 17 carries, 144 rushing yards, good for 8.5 yards a carry, 1 rushing touchdown, and he had 1 21-yard touchdown reception. On defense, he had 1 interception as well. Jaden Punches contributed 2 interceptions on defense, and Reed Krieger had 1 interception on defense as well. So that defensive secondary for the Patriots, probably one of the best performances and one of the best defensive performances I've ever personally seen. Lights out. Coach I also had said in the post-game comments, you know, talking to his team, again, this was like one of the best performances he had seen from the defensive side as well. So, guys, we were there. What was your thought on this game? Patrick Henry versus Hopewell Loudon.
The stats in this case really do it justice. The complete domination by Patrick Henry. The interceptions was wild to watch. Starting off the first 3 drives Hopewell Loudon had ended in interceptions. Then they had one. I think they went maybe 3 and out, maybe got a first down, and then, you know, turned the ball over or, punted the ball away. But then came back again. There's only a minute and a half left, I think, of the first half.
2 minutes, something like that.
And we look at each other and we're like, I think you just go into halftime and kind of lick your wounds at this point. Like, I think just take a knee or just kind of some easy dives, just keep the ball in your possession. What do? They come back out and throw the ball again, and what do you know? They pick the ball off again, put PH right on the 15-yard line.
Yeah,
they end up scoring again.
Yep.
So instead of going into halftime down 21-0, you go into halftime down 28-0 now. It's like it was just an uphill battle from there. And then you come out of halftime, which Hopewell Loudon did manage to get the punt or the kickoff return back, but then ends up their next drive throwing another pick. So you have 5 picks in the first 2 drives of the second half.
Yeah, first 6 series. They
had
out of 6 series, they had 4 interceptions, something like that.
They had about 6 drives. I think 5 of those were all picks. And then later on in the game, they end up with another fumble turnover, which it's just complete domination by Patrick Henry's defense, and that speaks volumes. I mean,
Liberty Center's defense it was to the point at times that, I mean, they did their film work. I mean, they knew they were shifting, and when he was trying to throw the ball, Hopewell Loudon was trying to throw the ball, like those guys were just sitting there and just playing center field, coming up, cutting the ball off. It was definitely a good game plan, whatever they had set up, and Lincoln Krieger's a real deal. He's an athlete. First time getting to watch him in person, and I know he's been recruited pretty big. I saw a picture where he was at the Northwestern game and Northwestern Ohio State game.
He's one of like 30 people.
What's that?
He's one of like 30 people.
Yeah. But it was neat to see him, play, and he's a good ball player. So, but yeah, I could not believe when I saw the stats. I knew those guys I'd done my homework last week. I knew those guys had, got over 300 yards a game. And when I finally saw the final stats, you guys said it was like 50 yards or something.
55 yards of total offense. Yeah.
You see it, but I really thought Hopewell Loudon, after returning that kickoff in the second half, kind of a little spark. They came out and picked Lincoln Krieger off. Momentum swung. You could feel the energy coming up on the sideline, and then they turned around and threw the pick right back to him. So, and that was it just killed them. That was it for them. You could see the balloon pop.
Yeah, and that entire game, one word, if I had to describe how that defense played, was suffocating. I mean, seriously, every time they'd throw that ball up in the air, it was like it was in the air forever. Like you said, it was a bunch of kids playing center field out there.
Yeah.
Those defensive backs and both the Kriegers, and then you had Punches back there too, and Cal Schrader. And that's what we talked about before. But those guys were all over it. I mean, every single time, it's like they knew exactly where the ball was, and that's like you said. It goes to really good film study, and they study their opponent well. They know, we know now that Coach H also helps break down film, and that dude is a football fanatic, so that's always a good guy to have on your side. But yeah, I mean, I can't give more of a testament to Coach George coaching up the defense, and just tremendous job. The other thing too, you brought up Lincoln Krieger. The kid is an absolute competitor. I love the way that he leads the team, both verbally, but also just by his demeanor and his mannerisms throughout the football game. just a very, very solid leader. And yeah, like you said, he's legit. And we had some questions about, what kind of player he was. We know he was solid, but until you watch him in person, you see what kind of football player and competitor is. He's physical. He's a great athlete. He can run. All the intangibles that you want, and as well as just being a great overall athlete. I mean, he checks off the list on all those.
And for me, when you watch him play, it's like he's been playing quarterback his whole life.
Right.
I mean, he looked comfortable back there and not realizing that he came into that halfway through the season last year. So
yeah. He's not afraid to take abuse.
No.
27 carries, and he ran the ball a lot, averaging 5.3 yards a carry. And he took some lickings here and there, but he was able to pop up and just continue trucking and over and over and over again. But then the last point I kind of want to bring up too is you talked about that kickoff return. That was the only time that Hopewell Loudon scored for the game. And I almost kind of think, Patrick Henry, we saw him going into the halftime, really, really excited. They were up, I believe 28-0 going into half. I mean, I don't blame him, be excited too. But I think they almost took just a little bit too big of a deep breath there coming out at halftime, and Hopewell Loudon got them. So, we were curious how they would respond. They finally settled down, and then the rest of the game was history after that. So,
what's crazy is, in reading about that game, there were two defensive performances last week that stuck out to me. That one and Coldwater. Coldwater is up 49-0 at the half against St. Bernard. They give up one first down in the game. St. Bernard has 28 carries for 23 yards. They have 40 total plays in the game. You want to guess how many yards they had?
They had one first down, you said?
Yes.
I don't know, 15, 20
40
yards.
total
That's probably
plays.
something
You're
crazy.
way too high.
Negative?
Zero.
Wow.
40
Zero
plays
total
for 0 yards.
Wow.
Now, here's where the weird thing is. They're 0 for 7 on fourth down. They attempted 4 fake punts. One of them was 4th and 28.
Jeez.
Okay.
What yard line were they on?
Why would you do
Yeah.
They were short of midfield.
4th and 28? Why would you take a
Yeah, wow.
fake
They were
punt?
down, by the way, I think 35-0 when this happened.
Yeah, I guess at that point, why
Yeah.
not? Right?
Coldwater played their starters for the first quarter.
Gee.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Good grief.
But those were the two defensive performances that jumped out to me.
Yeah.
I mean, those two high-caliber defenses that we've talked about, and I kind of feel like PH is undervalued.
Oh, I think
What
so
their
too.
defense has been, because everybody will talk about, whoever, but I don't think PH got enough love throughout the year.
No, I think they were almost kind of shadowed by Liberty Center's performances, and even they played Liberty Center really tough. But the only two losses that PH had in the year were to Liberty Center and Columbus Grove, two very, very good football teams as well. So
And that was what everybody hung their hat on of. Well, but they lost to those teams. Yeah, so did everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what are they, 23-0 now?
Well, and their defense is the only defense up until this past week here that managed to keep Liberty Center within one score. It's the only team that's been able to do that up until they played Oak Harbor last week. So we knew their defense was tough. It's just finally people are starting to realize it, I think.
yeah, and the last point for this game, I wanted to bring up the guy that scored was Braylon Martinez. He scored the 89-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. He was their running back as well, but he was their conference player of the year, the Sandusky Bay Conference River Division, and he finished with the game 12 carries, 25 rushing yards, 2 receptions for 30 receiving yards. So he basically had the entire offense all through
59
him,
yards.
and he was their conference player of the year. So they did an excellent job at shutting him down. And I believe you said he was an All-Ohio player last year. I think you had brought
I
up or
think
something
so.
like that too. So credit to that PH defense because they are some hard-nosed kids. So I'm excited to see what they do going forward in this week. So, all right, let's move on to the next game. We're looking at the 2-seed Liberty Center facing off against Oak Harbor. This was definitely a battle. We were actually, like Tony said, watching this on our phones. Yep. Liberty Center ended up winning this one 24-21, and this was held at Maumee High School. At halftime, Liberty Center was up 10-3. Total offense for the game, Liberty Center had 309 yards, 295 yards rushing. Oak Harbor had 219 yards, 149 passing. Turnover battle, Liberty Center had 0. Oak Harbor had 2 interceptions. Some top players for the Liberty Center Tigers were running back linebacker Waylon Rentz, 26 carries, 114 rushing yards, good for 4.4 yards a carry, 2 rushing touchdowns. He had 8 tackles and 1 tackle for loss on defense. Running back Garrison Cruz, 15 carries, 103 rushing yards, good for 6.9 yards a carry, and 1 rushing touchdown. Running back Thomas Moeller contributed 13 carries for 84 rushing yards, and quarterback Grady Miller, 2 of 4 for 14 passing yards. Defensive back Cam Colley had an interception. And then the man of the hour was linebacker Stephen Brogan, 1 interception to seal the game versus Oak Harbor as they were driving down the field to try to win it with 59 seconds left in the game. So, guys, what were your thoughts on the Liberty Center and Oak Harbor game?
We were watching this as, the PH game was kind of out of hand for a little bit, so we were watching it on. Keith had it up on his phone, and I tell you what, it was just back and forth, and kind of where we thought it was going to go. We talked about it last week in the podcast, where we thought it was going to be kind of that game where it was going to be a little bit of a battle. They matched up well. Oak Harbor knew could score points, and boy, they just came to play, and they were matching Liberty Center. They scored, and then Liberty Center scored, and they scored, and Liberty Center scored. Liberty Center, I think, took the 10-0 lead into halftime, 10-7 lead. I'm sorry, 10-7 lead into halftime. Then Oak Harbor came out and scored, and took the lead 14-10, and Liberty Center scored, took the lead 17-14, and then they scored to take that lead. I thought, okay, here's Liberty Center might settle in now and play. Nope, the kickoff returned back for a touchdown, and we looked back down at the phone. We're like, what happened? So we're looking at it like, oh yeah, they obviously had to return the kickoff for a touchdown. So we backed it up, and sure enough, they returned the kickoff for a touchdown. So they were up 21-17, and just some tough play by Liberty Center, fighting back, and I think they had 2 interceptions there, if I remember right, in the game. The one at the end, obviously, to seal it, but Liberty Center played well. I'm gonna pick on Liberty Center a little bit. In my opinion, not playing. I talked last week that they're very impressive, but I don't think they're hitting their stride right now. I think they're kind of faltering a little bit. As good as I thought they played the week before, watching them play in this game, and I'll talk about this in a little bit. Running backs a little bit, still physical, still played well, but I think Liberty Center needs to regroup here and think, wait a minute, maybe we're not the best team in the state yet. We have to prove some stuff. And
do you think this close of a game this late in the playoffs does them good for next round?
Oh, it definitely doesn't hurt them. Definitely does not hurt them, because I think they're going to have a battle again this week. And we talked about this is probably the toughest region in the state in that division in that conference or in that division. But their next game, if they go to state semifinals, go to guess they'll probably match up against Coldwater.
I can't remember who they said that they
D6.
Oh, they're D6. That's right. I forgot. They dropped.
Coldwater's got their own problem.
Oh,
I forgot.
They match up with South Range.
South Range.
Coldwater's
Yeah.
got Anna, and then if they win, they got that Bluffton game.
I forgot. They match up. So yeah, they match up with South Range, and then if things are going right, I think it's the Ironton team. They're playing Wheelersburg, I think, this week. So the Liberty Center does not have a cakewalk at all. They're going to have to battle the whole way out through this. So I think this definitely helps them in that aspect of okay, we can win a close game, tight game, because they haven't been challenged. Since even last week, we talked about last week, I thought Liberty Benton played well against them and kind of shot themselves in the foot by having so many turnovers. So I think it was good for them to be challenged.
But how much do you think, though, that their physical style that they've played with a lot of those kids the last handful of years is kind of catching up to them of, little ding here, little scrape there. All of a sudden you're, a tenth of a step slower.
That I don't know. I just think, when I was watching the running backs, they're – I don't want to pick on them because I think they're great. But I watched that game, and I think they weren't being as crisp as they could be, and it could be because of that. I mean, maybe it's because they haven't been challenged and they haven't had to fight. The offensive line's been able to control things for them, and so they just go where the hole's supposed to be. And I thought in this game, and I was going to talk about that later on, in this game – I thought that there was 2 different instances, in my opinion, where I thought Rentz had a big, big gain and didn't see it. He went through the hole, and it was right there. He just didn't bounce. And we talked about that when we were at the Liberty Benton game. There was a time where he went through the hole and got tackled. I'm like, dude, he should have bounced that out. And then the next time he bounces it out and scored. I think he's got to keep his eyes up a little bit more as we go down the stretch. The line's not going to be able to blow that open as easy for him, so he's going to have to make an adjustment midstream.
I think we've kind of talked about that too. I think it's just the running style of Liberty Center backs too. We know they're elusive, we know they're solid backs, but sometimes I think that physical brand of football, they want to just run right at you rather than run away and use that break open,
right.
That and the fact
track
that
type speed.
Tackles that hard on defense the whole game. I mean, he wants to hit everybody. He wants to hit the popcorn guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I think that might have been the only thing he didn't do was sell popcorn in that game because he did everything else according to the stats.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I want to bring up a point too. Oak Harbor really shocked me. I know you guys were all saying this game was going to be close. I did not think it was going to go that way at all. Considering what last year's score was, I know it's a different team, but you still have similar players. But Liberty won that game 45-14 and absolutely abused Oak Harbor last year in the regional semifinal. And I didn't think, honestly, I didn't think Oak Harbor was going to match up with them. Just because you see, the style of play, Liberty's built on physicality and running the football. Oak Harbor's kind of more that passing attack, that finesse, the basketball on grass type style. And I didn't think Oak Harbor could hang with them. And, Oak Harbor proved me wrong, that's for sure. And it was funny because Oak Harbor's quarterback, Michael Hirn, he tagged me in a post on Instagram and said I needed to watch film. So I told him, I said, I would love to watch film on everyone. Obviously, I don't do this full time.
Tell him to send it to you.
That's right. But, I congratulate him because, they played well and played tough. And, he's a great quarterback for Oak Harbor as well. So definitely wanted to give those guys credit. But I told him, I said, you guys proved me wrong. And, it's awesome to see you guys come out and, maybe use us for a little bit of motivation too. We've already seen it multiple times this playoffs, showing up in highlight videos. So AJ was popped up on Napoleon's videos. But I just want to give Oak Harbor a shout out because, they played tough. But, and last kind of point I had was, Stephen Brogan's huge play. And it was funny. I read the post-game article from the Crescent, and I think Waylon's post-game comments, he was just talking about how Stephen's not known to having the best hands on the team, which is understandable being a lineman-type player. But that's what you need in those moments. In big-time games, you need big-time plays. And, guys like Stephen Brogan stepped up, and that's exactly what you need to continue to move on. If you don't make those plays, if that doesn't happen, I say Oak Harbor probably ends up winning it. I mean, they were driving down the field there, and I believe it was third down when he had that interception too. But with 59 seconds left. So
they got the ball back that last drive there. They were pinned fairly deep at maybe 20-yard line after the kickoff. And there was like 2.5 minutes. I'm thinking, ooh, that's a lot of time for Oak Harbor to move the ball. They still had 2 timeouts too. I'm like, yeah, this might get ugly. And sure enough, they were moving the ball almost uncontested. It felt like
the guy helped with the pass
7 yards at a time, moving the ball down the field. I'm like, uh-oh. And then they happened to throw the pick, and that sealed it. Because if they don't throw that pick, Logan, I'm right there with you. I don't know that Liberty Center holds them out of the end zone.
Yeah, it was just one of those things where he tried to throw it over the middle and didn't see Brogan coming from the other side, and he just stepped in front. I think it was Cruz. I think it was Garrison Cruz in the middle maybe that jumped up, and I thought maybe he got a hand on it, and then he'd come underneath the receiver and caught that. But, yeah, I think this definitely helps Liberty Center's ability to win a close game. I think it should give them a little bit of confidence in that situation that we can win close games. But I think personally there's some things that's got to be worked on this week big time because they're going to be tested even more with Edison.
Yeah, I exactly agree with you, Tony. I think he hit it all right on the money. And, I do think those tight games late in the playoffs, they do pay dividends because, you're going to be tested. And every game it grows bigger and bigger each week. And, the opponent gets tougher and tougher until you get to that state championship. So, I think Liberty's going to get it figured out, especially this week. I think Coach Moeller and the coaching staff, I think they're always going to be very self-critical, even the players too. I know they strive for greatness there over at Liberty Center. So, I think they take a deep dive and, look at where they can fix those errors. And I think they come out this week and
figure it out.
Get ready for another big battle against Edison.
Yep.
All right, we're going to move on to the next game. Looking at the 1 seed Columbus Grove facing off against the 4 seed Mohawk at Fostoria Memorial Stadium. Columbus Grove won this one 35-13. I wanted to say congratulations, Coach Schaefer. He got his 100th win at Columbus Grove last Friday. Another huge point was Trent Barraza broke the school record for career rushing yards tonight. He broke the record set by Blaine Mag from 2001 to 2004 of 6,134 yards. And with that, he had 287 yards on 29 attempts, and Trent now sits at 6,139 yards for his career. So congratulations to Trent. He also tied the school record with 5 rushing touchdowns in a single game, and he's tied with Blaine Mag, Jeremy Harnischfeger. Sorry if I mispronounced that.
You're close. Harnischfeger.
And Reed Stettschulte. So that's definitely some good company to be in if you're Trent for sure. So let's get into some stats here for the game. Halftime, Columbus Grove was up 21-0. Total yards for the game, Columbus Grove had 334 with 296 yards rushing. Again, they like to run that rock over there in Grove. Mohawk had 274 yards with 184 yards passing. Turnovers for the game, Columbus Grove had 1 interception. Mohawk had 2, 1 fumble, 1 interception. And penalties for the game, Columbus Grove had 1 for 5 yards. Mohawk had 3 for 27. So top players for Columbus Grove, running back Trent Barraza. Again, like I said. What's that?
Trent Barraza?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, surprise.
Yeah.
He's got an offer from Baldwin Wallace today, too, by the way.
Oh, did he really?
Oh.
And see that, and hopefully those offers keep getting thrown in. I know we had kind of spotlighted him a little bit last week, but kid deserves them, that's for sure. But finishing with 287 yards, rushing, 5 rushing touchdowns. Quarterback Kyle Hopkins was 5'11", 38 passing yards. He did have 1 interception. And tight end Brady Basinger, 2 receptions, 29 receiving yards. So, guys, thoughts on the Columbus Grove and Mohawk game?
Oh, boy. Just another slaughter from Columbus Grove, and Barraza leading the charge there. We talked about it last week, getting farther and farther in the playoffs, and he's still putting up almost 300 yards of offense.
I don't understand if you're an opponent he's their entire offense. They're going to run everything through him, and you still cannot stop him.
At one point, you got to have 2 linebackers spying him. I mean, you got to have people dedicated to just stopping him at some point. You got to do something to get him under control, because he is single-handedly running through your defense. Not saying that the line's not helping.
The problem, though, is guys play his first move and then end up getting beat when he takes a step sideways.
Yeah.
So they all crash down, and then he goes the other way. I mean, very smart coaches have tried to game plan for this kid.
Oh, yeah.
They haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah, he's so elusive. And, again, like you guys said, he's putting up 200, astronomical numbers, honestly, in the state, in the regional semifinals. Just crazy to put up those kind of numbers. But the kid's awesome. And, Columbus Grove, obviously, they're going to ride him like a horse until
yeah.
they
Why wouldn't you?
Anymore,
Yeah. I think if you're Coach Schaefer and, the coaching staff over there, why would you deviate away from the game plan? Just continue to run things. Yeah. And then obviously, they're probably going to go into the game plan B, use him for some different deceptions and trick plays and things like that to kind of use him as a diversion. But until someone can stop him just running the ball, why do you change anything?
Yeah. I don't know that you guys have seen this, but they're not going to be able to see this, but there's a post from Blaine Mag. And my favorite part about it is Blaine Mag is a hilarious dude, and he put 287 yards, 61-39 is more than 61-34. He put up a picture with he and Trent Barraza, and he said, Barraza had 287. I had 0 on Friday night. And the crazy thing is that he knows, like you said, everybody knows what's happening, and Barraza just continues to put these numbers up. Put 8 guys in the box. Great. You're going to watch 11 guys as he's going down the sideline. The 5 touchdown thing is crazy, though, to be in that company. And I'll be honest with you, when he was starting his junior year, I remember I talked to Andy Schaefer, who, by the way, is one of the best coaches to talk to.
Oh, agreed.
I have a lot of conversations after games that I can't read to you for various reasons, but he's a big fan of Christmas. He just approaches it so amazing. And you talk to the kid, he's the most humble kid. You look at him and go, oh, well, he's gotta be something, right? Because 300 yards a game. But I remember looking at his junior year and thinking, man, he's not going to get close to Blaine, because Blaine's numbers are, I think he's top 15 all-time rushing.
I believe you're right.
And even that goes back to the 03 state championship game where he had that big game against Marion Local. But, you get by this week and you maybe see the Flyers next week.
Yeah. I just don't, I personally have compared this kid to Travion Henderson. The way he runs, his style is tall, lanky, and just his cutback moves and next level speed is incredible. And this kid is, I want to wait and see somebody to stop him, see if anybody can get it done. I guarantee Coach Schaefer's got something else in the bag.
Oh, 100%.
He's got something else, but he's just like, you know what? Let's just keep it in the bag for now. I don't need to use it, so I just why pull it out?
Him and Coach Roney, that offense has a plan B, ready to pull the trigger when they need it. But until then, just keep riding that horse, like you said. Because kid's a stud. There's no other way to put it. And I said before, too, I feel like we're just a broken record when it comes to this. He is the best running back I've probably ever seen and since I've been alive in Northwest Ohio. The kid is legit, and he runs very well. He's elusive. He's a physical player. It's everything that you want in a running back. He's got that and more. So, the only other thing, I wish is, he'd get more offers and get more looks.
Yeah, it's sad that he's not getting more looks, at least that we know of. And, I started thinking about that a little bit. It could be something. Maybe it's grades. I don't know. I don't know. But something like that's holding back a little bit. Maybe he's not the best student. I can't believe that.
Yeah,
but,
I would have a hard time believing that.
You think about that kind of stuff. Is that something that's holding back a little bit?
Well, he can't. The student thing can't be true because he just got an offer from Baldwin Wallace.
Yeah, that's true.
To get into Baldwin Wallace, you got to be pretty smart to begin with.
That's true.
I don't think so. And I think this is a topic that we're going to get into later in the podcast, but I think it's just something about being in rural Northwest Ohio. I mean, I just don't think it gets hit by recruits. I mean, you really have to do a lot of, I hate to say it, a lot of marketing for yourself, like trying to put your name out there and, contacting coaches yourself, because it's not like inner city Toledo or Cleveland where, coaches just can go and hit up school after school after school and make an entire day out of it. I know, me personally at Findlay, and again, I don't want to get into too much of this because this is a topic later, but, those coaches would have their different regions, and a lot of them would hit the big cities, and, someone would be in charge of, recruiting Northwest Ohio, but you just physically can't stop by a lot of different schools and talk to coaches and players and things like that. So I think that
in playoffs, when one playoff game versus the next could be 2 hours from each other, so you're basically locked into going to one game or one location, and whoever you see, you see.
Well, to be fair, Ohio State's coordinator was in Ottawa last weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, is there anybody with a direct line to Findlay maybe on this kid?
I know.
Do you guys know anybody?
I don't know.
I might have a roundabout way to the Buckeyes, but I do know somebody that's on the Buckeye staff. But I tell you what, that's somebody needs to pick this kid up. Then I started thinking also, maybe he doesn't want to play. Maybe he's a Landon Bachman that says, you know what, I'm done after this. I don't want to play anymore.
I don't know. Everything I've heard,
Yeah.
I think he wants to play. I've reached out to him, just to talk to him a little bit about, offers and things like that. And I really try to promote, if I see kids want to play, like I'll share it on my platform because,
absolutely.
If I can take my platform and, the followers, coaches, whoever, and if I can help a kid, get more exposure or possibly, go fulfill his dreams and play college football, by all means, I'm going to share it. It takes me 2 seconds to click a button and, put his game film out there or share things. So, if you're a legit player, like I have no problem doing that. So, like I'll do that every now and then too. Yeah. So, but Columbus Grove is doing big things, and I'm excited to see what they do this coming week. All right, we're going to move on to the next game. We're looking at the 14 seed Napoleon facing off against the 1 seed Sandusky Perkins. Perkins ended up winning this one 35-21 at halftime. Perkins was up 21-14 on Napoleon. Total yards for the game, Sandusky Perkins had 355 with 192 rushing. Napoleon had 259 yards with 210 passing. Turnovers for the game, Sandusky Perkins had 0. Napoleon had 1 interception. Some top players from Napoleon. Quarterback Owen Espinoza was 10 of 24, 210 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown. He was sacked 3 different times for this game. Running back George Eggers, 24 carries, 71 rushing yards, averaging 3 yards a carry, 2 rushing touchdowns. He had 2 receptions for 12 receiving yards. Wide receiver Parker Woods, 5 receptions for 108 receiving yards. Wide receiver Trey Rubenstein, 3 receptions, 90 receiving yards, 1 receiving touchdown, and he was 0 of 1 passing with the 1 interception. So, again, trying to get him involved in as many ways as possible. So, guys, thoughts on the Napoleon at Sandusky Perkins versus Sandusky Perkins game?
Yeah, and they were back and forth. They were. Napoleon. We looked at the score and thought, wow, they're right there. They're hanging in. Yeah. And I'll be honest, I was a little surprised. I thought Sandusky Perkins would handle this a little better, but Napoleon showed the grit that they've been playing with all season and definitely down the playoff stretch here. So, unfortunately, they couldn't come out with a win, but they were pulling everything out of the box, trying to pull this one off, and just couldn't get it done.
Yeah, I was really glad to see Napoleon hit their stride here late in the season. That was something that we've seen in the last couple of years. Napoleon drew a tough draw and ended up facing Glenville, fairly early in the playoffs. So now everyone was excited. Coach Swery said that in the kickoff show that, pretty excited that Glenville was in a different region. So they move regions, and Napoleon has a little bit more success. So they went on a great run. This is probably the furthest playoff run that they have had in probably, 10, 15 years.
Probably a while.
So just great to see. They had a lot of great athletes, like we've been saying. So it was good to see them kind of finally play somewhat to their full potential. And Perkins is a tough team. Being the 1 seed, they were the ones and the favorites to win this region. And Napoleon definitely gave them a run for their money this game. So, you had a lot of great players. Espinoza, he broke a lot of records for Napoleon. I believe the career passing yards record holder he broke earlier this season. George Eggers, he's I think he's a junior this year. So he's coming back. So they're lucky to have him. Parker Woods, Trey Rubenstein are seniors. So those two are definitely going to be missed as well, along with a lot of the other great Napoleon players as well. But, excellent season out of Napoleon.
I was rooting for Napoleon because of all the River Bandit kids.
Yeah, there you go.
It's going to cover them. Chad wants me to mention that every time I talk about Napoleon. He's always thrilled. He's a big fan of the show.
Awesome.
But it is neat. I mean, to get to see Trey and his maturation, to get to see Owen. I just wish that that would have come out the other way.
Yeah, we were watching the score the whole time, and I saw it started off 0-7, then it was 7-7, then it was 14-7, then 14-14. I'm watching it going back and forth while I'm tracking the scores. I'm like, man, Napoleon is putting up a fight against Perkins. That in itself is a statement to be made, going up against number 1 Perkins, and I mean, held your own all the way till a few minutes left in the fourth quarter. I mean, it was mid fourth quarter before they finally got out to that bigger lead, and I think some of that might just become desperation, trying to force things to happen,
right.
and offenses tend to kind of shut down when you start forcing that last few plays, and
I think it was interception there in the fourth quarter is kind of what sealed the deal for it.
Yeah,
Couldn't put it away, but
a lot of that comes to trying to force a throw where maybe you can't necessarily throw into traffic, and maybe that's why they ended up with that 35 points instead of just 28. But good performance this year from Napoleon. I'm glad they made it as far as they did. Hope they continue to develop their program and do well next year.
That's what I was going to say too. I know that's one thing that we've discussed in previous podcasts too. Is at the end of the day, someone's got to win, someone's got to lose. But for Napoleon to make a deep playoff run, I do think that really helps in development of programs. Get some excitement in the community. Maybe get a couple extra kids that were kind of on the edge of coming out for football or not, but they see all the kids having fun and making a deep playoff run, and they decide to come out and wins. Breed winning cultures, and that's what Napoleon needed to do. And so hopefully they can continue to build off this. Obviously, they lose a lot of great athletes, but I think Coach Swery is doing some good things over there in Napoleon, and good to see them to continue to improve year after year.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's never fun to lose in playoffs. Nobody ever wants to be done, but I think this is probably the best ending to a season outside of being a state champion. You're kind of the underdogs, making your own statement.
Oh, yeah.
Come in there against the Perkins, nobody's really favoring you at all. You put up a really good fight, but yet you weren't 1 point off. You didn't lose a heartbreaker loss. You got beat, but you played very well doing so. I think that just makes a statement for your season and really finishes off the season well without a whole lot of heartbreak.
Good points. Coming into this game, Perkins was the heavy favorite. Look on Drew Pastor, you look on Cal Preps, you look on whatever. They were 21, 24, whatever you want to say, 20-something point favorites.
Yep.
And Napoleon came out here, and they did. They played really, really tough. Yep. They played well, and they definitely made a statement in this game.
Oh yeah.
All right, let's move on to the final game. We're looking at the 11-seed Leipsic facing off against the 15-seed Delphus Johns. Who would ever called that one? Like you said earlier, facing off in the regional semis. So I don't know. This is pretty crazy. And I know this is a tough matchup for all of us to pick, but Delphus St. John's ended up winning this one 21-13. This game was held at Ottawa Glandorf. We actually drove by heading to Finley's Donnell Stadium, and geez, that stadium was getting packed pretty early too. Yeah, I don't know what time it was we drove by, but cars were flowing in already. Yeah, so pretty solid to see. At halftime of this game, Leipsic was up 13-6. Another game where Delphus was down at halftime, but they ended up coming back to win it. Total offense for the game, Leipsic had 220 yards with 171 passing. Delphus St. John's had 290 yards with 256 rushing. Turnover battle for the game, Leipsic had 1 fumble. Delphus St. John's had 0. Some top players from Leipsic, quarterback Mark Kirkendall. Again, this kid's just a freshman, but he's definitely showing a high ceiling and a lot of room to grow. He was finished 11 of 22, 50%, 171 passing yards with 2 passing touchdowns. Wide receiver Avery Paris, 1 68-yard touchdown reception. Wide receiver Ty Lammers, 2 receptions, 25 receiving yards, 1 receiving touchdown.
That'll get you burnt in Leipsic.
Is it Lammers?
It's Lammers.
Ty Lammers.
Look, I want you to be able to go to the nice Mexican place they have in town, okay?
That's the thing. I know over in Putnam County, they always have the correct pronunciation.
I used to have a list. I screwed it up one time because I'm from Allen County, and I always said Lammers. And then I got a lady send me an email one time. This is like 15 years ago now. I don't screw that up anymore.
Yep.
I just assume it's Lammers at this point.
Well, that's good for us to know because I always try my best to say the right name. And everyone's always got their specific way they say it, except if you're Cal Schrader. So, and then wide receiver Jace Brecht had 5 receptions, 61 receiving yards. So, guys, thoughts on the Leipsic and Delphus St. John's game?
Well, I mean, like you said, it was packed. We went by there with people there. As Michael mentioned a minute ago, that Coach Knowles was there from Ohio State. Apparently, he was taking pictures of some people. So
Was he actually there, or was Miles kidding?
No, he was there. Nate
there.
Stidham put up a picture of him in the press box.
yeah, they
Does anyone know what he was doing there? Was he recruiting someone, or just stopping by? Or
stopped by on his way to Ohio State or to
Maybe
Northwestern.
Chicago.
What he said.
I'd take a detour to Ottawa.
That's what I said.
Maybe he went to the Red Pig.
I don't know. But
Just
Yeah, I
catch
don't
a
know.
game.
Could have hit Tony's and got a bag of burgers on his way.
I'm not sure what he was doing there, but that's they had a picture of him. So Keith was kind of looking and trying to check the background and make sure, is this real or is this fake? And from what we could tell, it was real. But
well, I know Miles always posts things of like lookalikes of people too. That's why I didn't actually see the picture yet, but I had heard all about it. So.
Keith actually right away pulled up Noel's picture and was looking at it, comparing. Like, dude, that's him. That's the same guy.
I asked Nate why he wasn't working. I said, why didn't you put him to work? Why didn't you interview him? He said, well, we had a long pregame. Okay.
But no, when it comes to the game, Leipsic, battling there, and had the lead and just unfortunate. But I tell you what, Kirkendall being a freshman coming out throwing two touchdown passes in the game and kind of letting them ride on them a little bit. Obviously, couldn't get much of a running game going, so they relied on the freshman's arm, which is impressive in a regional semifinal game. All right, here you got to do it. We're going to go with you, and to be able to come out there and perform pretty well, and just unfortunately couldn't come away with the win.
Yeah, nice run by Leipsic too.
Yeah.
Considering in week 10 they lost to Ada, week 11 they turn around and they have to face them off again in the playoffs and go to their place, and they end up beating them, which we kind of have that discussion. Is it tough to beat a team twice,
Yep.
especially playing back-to-back weeks? But again, won a few games in the playoffs. A young quarterback and freshman Mark Kirkendall, but I'm sure his dad's really coaching him up pretty well over there in Leipsic. So good to see a nice season out of the Vikings and see what they continue to build on. So, AJ, you have any comments?
No, actually, you guys said it very well. Relying on a freshman as a quarterback only sets you up good for the next couple of years, sets you up well. To let him develop a little bit, gain some size, gain some experience, things like that. You could be looking at a solid leader on that team in the next year or two here.
And I think it's the scary thing about Leipsic overall is they're young.
Yeah.
And I actually hate this game because I hate that someone had to lose this game. Because these are the type of teams that all year long, there's a lot of teams, obviously, in the MAC. We talked about the 7 losses for St. John's, all being from teams that, as of last week, I think 6 of 7 were still playing. But you look at Leipsic, too, and, I mean, look at their schedule. There's not schlubs on their schedule. They have the weird, we're in the BBC, we're in the NWC, we're in the BBC, whatever. But, I mean, that's a good football team, and to be that good and that young, 11-15 never happens. And the fact that it did, those are the kind of teams you want your team to be of. Delph Harold says gritty is what St. John's was. Well, St. John's had a lot of injuries early in the year, and they're, a lot of basketball kids and a lot of athletes, but watch out for Leipsic in the future.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep. All right. Well, we're going to take a break to hear from our sponsors, and we'll be right back with the next segment. BSN Sports is your go-to business for purchasing uniforms, equipment, spiritwear, and anything else your athletic program needs, giving you more time to impact lives on the field. With over 1,200 sales professionals who live, work, and serve in your community, you're always just a short drive or phone call away. Be sure to give your local sales rep and Jim Garris a call for any of your athletic supply needs. Optimal Performance Fitness is your go-to gym in Northwest Ohio, providing group fitness classes, personal training, and sports performance sessions for area athletes. Located in Napoleon, Ohio. Give them a call today at 419-438-7265.
Baden Stevens Body Shop is your #1 voted auto body shop in Northwest Ohio. We are your experts on all makes and models and are the only Chrysler, Ford, and GM certified collision repair center in the area. Located in Jewel, Ohio. Give us a call today at 419-497-3111 to schedule your free estimate. Come check out the Baden Stevens Body Shop difference.
Titan GPS delivers technological superiority and improved player performance through wearable GPS made for high school football and strength and conditioning programs. From speed training to athlete recruit to workload enhancement, Titan is the easy-to-use yet comprehensive GPS tool to get it done. There's no minimum to get started, and Titan will walk you through every step to success. Message us on X Titan Sensor to learn more and get in touch. We're back on the NWO Sports Podcast, and we're on to Play of the Week, sponsored by Titan Sports. Titan Sports offers revolutionary wearable GPS technology for high school football and strength and conditioning programs, giving you all the metrics to get the most out of your athlete. So, guys, let's take a look at some great honorable mention plays from the playoffs. Check them out right here. As I always say, there can only be one. This week's play of the week is going to go to the Liberty Center Tigers and linebacker Stephen Brogan on this game-sealing interception. Watch it right here, thanks to Isaiah Markle. Guys, like I said before, to win big games, you need big-time plays like this. Stephen Brogan made a nice read. He dropped back into coverage, and he helped to win this tough-fought game against the Oak Harbor Rockets. So congratulations again to Stephen Brogan and Liberty Center Tigers. What were your guys' initial thoughts on this play?
Like you said, good read. Just the way to drop into coverage and just stepped in front, picked it off, and like you said, helped seal the win.
Yeah, it was kind of one of those moments because it was scary seeing them moving the ball down the field like that with such little time on the clock, and for them to get that seal, it was nice to get that weight off their shoulders a little bit and start getting ready for the next week.
Yeah, and I'm sure that play, big time plays like that are plays that those kids are going to remember for quite some time.
Yeah.
There's plays, that I can remember from deep playoff runs here and there, and those just stick with you, and community talks about them. So it's a great moment, and good for him that he kind of gets to soak that all in too. And those moments are just really, really special, especially in times like that. So
Who said he didn't have good hands?
that's right. Obviously, good enough to get an interception. That's right.
I would have dropped it.
So it's good to see him come up with that big play. Again, congratulations to Stephen Brogan from Liberty Center. All right, guys, we're on to Player of the Week from Week 13, sponsored by BSN Sports. We're going to go ahead and read the list of some finalists who made the list here. So let's go. Columbus Grove running back Trent Barraza, Patrick Henry quarterback defensive back Lincoln Krieger, Patrick Henry running back defensive back Cal Schrader, the PH defense Napoleon quarterback Owen Espinoza, and Leipsic quarterback Mark Kirkendall. So who wants to kick things off with someone that was kind of catching their eye?
I just want to start off with the PH defense. Nobody in particular, just the whole defense. You kind of said it best, just suffocating. They absolutely would not bend at all. I mean, you always talk about the bend, don't break defense. Well, they just didn't even bend. They just did not let Hopewell Loudon do anything. And I'm sure as an offensive coordinator from Hopewell Loudon, it's just so frustrating to go up against a defense like that because you can't really get enough going on the ground. So then you have to resort to getting the air under the ball a little bit. And it seemed like every time they did, it was picked off. So it's like, what do? You have to go back to the run. And it's like, but you're only getting 2 yards at most. It's like there's just literally nothing you could do to get anything moving. So just the PH defense legitimately won that game for them. I mean, the offense was good too, but the fact that Hopewell Loudon couldn't do anything pretty much sealed that game from the start.
And the PH offense, they played with a short field the entire night, so because of their defense.
Right,
so.
Starting with the ball on the 35-yard line because they just picked the ball off for the fourth time. It makes it a lot easier for your offense to score.
Yeah, and for me, I like Cal Schroeder. He did a nice job playing, part of that defense and on the offensive side as well, running the ball, taking some weight off of Lincoln Krieger. He was running the ball, breaking off a couple big runs, and so he did a nice job as well.
I know we talked about it before, and probably again, and probably again, and probably again, but Trent Barraza, as good as you talk about PG's defense, how about the offensive line? Kylan Mays, Brady Fierst, Ty Meyer, Leighton Blakemeyer, and Jacob Leininger for Columbus Grove. I mean, to break holes 29 times, to have 287 yards, 5 touchdowns, to give your back time to go for 10 yards a carry. And they've been doing it all year because I think Grove is averaging somewhere around 8 or 9 yards a carry as a team.
Yeah, that speaks volumes of the line, not just Barraza, but the line itself too.
And even the sub guys when they come in, because there's really no drop off when the offensive line, the starters are playing first, second, maybe into the third quarter. Now all of a sudden you're getting that experience, and kind of similar to what we talk about the MAC of that's why Grove is so good, because they just continue building the machine.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. Some of these teams like Columbus Grove and Liberty Center, that's why they're good year after year, because they're playing. I mean, they're JV second string guys are getting just as much experience, even in the playoffs, as what their starters are. So Columbus Grove setting themselves up for future success as well, having games like this.
Also, shout out to the tight end Brady Basinger. Was actually texting Andy Schaefer, and he wanted me to make sure that Grant Eversole also gets a little bit of love.
Yeah, absolutely. Those guys all.
I love to hear it. Anytime you're giving offensive linemen, tight ends, I got to throw those into the group too for their efforts on the the line of scrimmage. I love it. I'm down for it because those guys are guys that don't get a lot of recognition, and the more that we can promote those guys, I'm all down for it. And I've always got a special part of my heart.
Is there an experience?
I've always got a special heart of my place in my heart for those players. So
tight ends do definitely get forgotten about too. To throw that in there too, because they kind of play a dual role. They go out for passes occasionally, depending on what kind of offense you run. Right. But they do a lot of blocking as well. They're part of that offensive line for a lot of teams.
Yeah. Even with these guys, your wide receivers, as he gets out wider, trying to get out around the corner, the wide receivers got to block. They talk about that all the time when you watch college and pros. Those wide receivers being unselfish and just setting blocks for people. So just an all around Columbus Grove's playing very, very well, and
very excited to see them in the next couple weeks.
Yep.
And so after some discussion, we ended up deciding the player of the week from this week is going to go to Patrick Henry, quarterback, defensive back, Lincoln Krager. Again, great performance. This kid is an absolute leader, and he is legit. And, there's a reason why he's getting some big-time looks from around the country and some nice schools. Obviously, he was just at Northwestern, too. Yeah. But the kid's a competitor. He's got a nice frame, and he's very, very physical. And he's going to go out there, and he's an absolute competitor. He's going to win at all costs. Yep. And there's a reason why we picked him. He's enjoyable to watch. I mean, if you're a football fanatic, this is a kid that you want to watch and model your game after, and that's Lincoln Krager from Patrick Henry. So, again, congratulations to him. We had talked, too. I mean, it was tough because Trent Barraza, I feel like you could give him player of the week every single week, but he's already got it twice for us, and Lincoln Krager had an excellent performance in that blowout win for the Patriots. So the player of the week will receive NWO Sports gear courtesy of BSN Sports. So again, thank you to sales rep Jim Garris and Rob Held for being great supporters of coverage for athletics in Northwest Ohio.
What if I told you his first offer, Lincoln Krager, was from Butler?
Was it really?
Really?
I didn't see that coming. He's got a lot of the Big Ten looking at him, but his first actual offer, as I understand it, came from Butler.
Okay.
I did not know that. Yeah. It's always interesting to see, the different schools that offer, like you had said too, with Trenton Barraza about Baldwin Wallace offering him, and I know he's got some other ones too. I think
his first offer came from Adrian, and it happened in the summer.
Did it really?
Indiana Wesleyan.
Indiana Wesleyan. I knew that was.
He just visited Central Michigan and Ashland.
Okay.
That's Barraza.
I didn't know Central. I knew the Ashland. I knew he took a visit there, and I thought he had said something too. He likes Indiana Wesleyan too, and I mean, there's a lot of solid programs, but I think
there's also a lot of Northwest Ohio and Putnam County kids at Indiana Wesleyan now.
Yeah, isn't Coach Schaefer, AJ Schaefer's? He's at Indiana Wesleyan, I
believe
think.
so. And then Swift from Kalida he played there.
Okay.
And there's a lot of young ladies that have gone there and been successful in their programs too from Putnam County.
Yeah, one quick shout out to Lincoln Krager, the blonde hair that everybody had Friday night.
Yeah.
The post. So he was at Northwestern and he had this blonde hair. It was kind of nice and bright. So just going to pick him a little bit for everybody dyeing their hair. It's kind of cool.
I always think that's cool how they all did it. I said it looks like a bunch of M&Ms walking around here. It looked like what was it from Eminem from the MTV
Slim Shady
awards where they had everyone that looked like him. Yeah. That's what Patrick Henry looked like on Friday night.
It was funny.
Pretty awesome though. So again, thank you to BSN Sports. We are on to Matthew's Players of the Week to watch. So, again, like we say, if you're going to Vegas, you want to bring this guy with you. On offense, Matthew is looking at Trent Barraza from Columbus Grove. Reasoning is Delphus St. John's has struggled on defense, giving up 20-plus points in most of their games this season. I think Barraza will take advantage of that and have a big night. On the defensive side, he's going with Kylan Mays from Columbus Grove. Reasoning is St. John's has also struggled on offense this season in most of their games, so I think Kylan Mays will take advantage of that and have a big night as well. So, again, thank you to Matthew for his analysis on that. And, again, anytime he mentions your name, they're bound for a big night. So keep an eye out for the Grove boys for sure. So, all right, we're going to take a break to hear from our sponsors. We'll be right back with the next segment. Marco's Pizza is honored to sponsor NWO Sports, serving your pizza of choice in Northwest Ohio. Defiance, Archbold, Wauseon, Delta, Bryan, Napoleon, Paulding, and Montpelier. Order online at marcos.com today. RE/MAX Realty of Defiance has represented Defiance County for nearly 40 years. Located at 1401 South Jefferson Avenue in Defiance, we have 13 agents ready and available to assist you in home buying or selling needs. You can check out all the listings at www.remax419.com or call us at 419-784-3029. Let our years of experience go to work for you. For 26 years, Burkholder Taxidermy has been Northwest Ohio's trusted full-service taxidermist. From game heads to lifelike mounts, we provide exceptional quality and craftsmanship. Preserve your memories with Burkholder Taxidermy, where experience meets excellence. Located at 19331 Buckskin Road, Defiance, Ohio. Give them a call at 419-782-9538. Fairchild Family Chiropractic aims to help families to get better together in the least invasive way possible. Dr. Fairchild focuses on the neck using the Blair technique and Palmer package, adjusting to correct spinal misalignments. Located in Defiance, Ohio. Call Dr. Fairchild today at 419-576-5070 to schedule an appointment. DeLarber Concrete and Hauling is your go-to provider for concrete and hauling needs. Flat work, pole barn floors, driveways, and patios. Hauling services for stone, mulch, and dirt. Call Josh for your free estimate at 419-576-0401. Jimenez Basketball Academy strives to create an atmosphere to cultivate basketball fundamentals in Northwest Ohio youth athletes, offering one-on-one sessions, group sessions, speed and agility training, and much more. Located in Pettisville, Ohio. Call Coach Jesse today at 419-551-8105. Check out Tenora Rams Live. Live events broadcast on YouTube and post-game results, articles, schedules, and more can all be found on tenorarams.com. Feel free to look up their Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram pages as well. Northwest Ohio Basketball hosts premier basketball tournaments for boys in grades 3 to 8 in the area. Upcoming tournaments are right around the corner. Give them a call today at 419-283-5296 or check out their website at nwoball.com. The Drop Zone Pizzeria is the #1 voted pizza restaurant in the region. Check them out for pizza, wings, subs, and more. Located in Ayersville and Stryker, or ask them about their traveling food trailer. Trueland Equipment and Salesman Lauren Brown are your go-to for John Deere equipment in Archbold, Ohio. Mowers, compact tractors, skid loaders, and more. Your sales expert on commercial turf and CCE sales. Give Lauren a call today at 419-445-1565. Looking to remodel or expand your home? Building with Faith Construction specializes in quality remodeling services and additions to make your dream space a reality. From general construction to detailed renovations, trust Building with Faith to bring experience, reliability, and craftsmanship to every project. Give them a call today at 419-980-8850. Start your day off right at Paulding Pancake House, serving up delicious breakfast, lunch, and dinner from Tuesday through Sunday. It's your go-to spot for home-style meals at any time of day. Swing by and enjoy everything from classic pancakes to hearty lunch and dinner options. There's something for everyone at the Paulding Pancake House. Craving a local favorite? Head to Ensign's Pub, where you'll find the best hot beef sandwiches and famous knockers in town. Whether you're celebrating after the big game or just need a great meal, Ensign's has you covered. Stop by for great food, cold drinks, and good company. Located on 611 Ottawa Avenue in Defiance, open Tuesday through Saturday. We're back on the NWO Sports Podcast, and we're on to our new segment, In the Huddle, and that's where I give a scenario to these guys. They can ask me a couple questions if they have any, but basically they decide what they're going to do in that situation. We had a lot of fun with it last week. It's just meant to be fun for us and, maybe have the fans think of what they would do in that situation. So I'll read the scenario, and then I'll pick someone to start this thing off. So let's read the scenario here. All right. It's the first quarter of a pivotal game. You're in week 5 of the season. Your record's 2-2. Coming into this year, it's a championship or bust season. You've got a lot of talent, a lot of very senior-driven team as well. So your starting quarterback is a senior leader on the team. He just has thrown 2 interceptions on back-to-back drives. Frustration is mounting on the sidelines, and your offense looks out of sync. On the bench, you have a promising young sophomore backup quarterback who's been turning heads with his potential, and he's even drawing attention from Division I colleges. Do you stick with the senior starter and trust his leadership to bounce back, or do you take the risk and hand the reins to their young prodigy and try to spark the team? So just some different things to think about. The senior starter, how much weight do you put on their leadership and experience? Would polling them shake their confidence or disrupt the team chemistry? The sophomore backup, do you take a gamble on raw talent, potentially giving the young player invaluable experience, but risking an even more uneven performance? Just a couple other things. Short-term versus long-term thinking. Do you prioritize the game's outcome over developing a sophomore's potential? And if the senior is benched, could this create even more tension or divide in the locker room? So a lot of things to think about. Tony? Are you benching him or are you going with the young star?
No, I bench him. That's not even a question. You're 2-2. Obviously, he hasn't performed too well yet. It's not like you're 4-0 and all of a sudden you're going to throw them on the bench. You're 2-2. You're losing a game. You're throwing 2 picks. If I got somebody on the bench that I think could possibly spark, I'm looking at it as it's going to be a spark. And if the senior, if you have an issue where it's going to cause drama in the locker room, that's for you as a coach to handle and take care of that. Don't let it develop. You got to do what you got to do to win the game, and then you sit down and talk to that senior like, hey, I think this is where we're going to go. Similar to the Dominic Graziani thing that they did this year. Took a senior out of the quarterback position, put him at wide out, and the rest was history. But threw a sophomore quarterback in there and that kind of thing. So it's kind of where it come from. But no, I bench him. I don't even hesitate.
I'm going to add a couple more details too. So
now you
wait a minute.
So just elaborating on this a little bit more.
Right.
The senior quarterback has played pretty solid. He is throwing up some decent stats. They lost the games because their defense isn't playing as well. The kid's also a 3-year starter. So that's just a couple other details I want to throw in there as well. Still change your mind or no?
Nope. I'm still going to put him in there.
AJ?
What kind of athlete is he in general? Is he just a good quarterback, or is he just an all-around really good athlete?
He's a pocket passer.
He's a pocket passer.
And so is the backup.
So not a lot of running or anything like that going on. And then I agree. Pull him out, see if you can spark something. If you've thrown 2 interceptions in a row, you can't keep going back to the same thing like we saw with Hopewell Loudon. You got to change something, and the easiest thing to change, if you've got somebody sitting on the bench that could change the dynamic, you got to do it. Because you can't just.
But again, he's played solid through the first 4 weeks. I mean, I know they're 2-2. The defense has kind of led to some of their losses, but he's a leader on the team. He's really got everyone following his lead, and he's a solid player too. He's a 3-year starter.
But obviously, the defense has found something that he's doing that's a telltale sign of what he's. I mean, you don't throw 2 picks on back-to-back drives if the defense isn't reading something. Like that doesn't happen on accident. Okay. I hold firm on put the sophomore in and see what he can do. Give him a drive or 2, maybe at least. At the very least, pull that starter out to give him a second to reset his mindset. Let the sophomore do what he can do. If the sophomore comes out there and performs like Tom Brady and takes him the rest of the way, so be it. If he goes out there and just gets by, maybe put the senior back in there and see if he's kind of calmed back down, reset.
I was just going to ask a question. Yeah. Is he a 2-year player, a 2-way player?
Who's that?
The quarterback. Does he play both ways?
Let's say yes, he is.
You can definitely throw that sophomore in there, give him a drive, so you can sit down, you can show him some film, looking at the the huddle sideline stuff, and looking at some stuff. But
does that affect his performance on the defensive side? Mentally, he just got benched from.
Well, no, you don't. You're taking him out to help him get because you got to score points to win games, right? If you got 0 on the scoreboard, you never win a ball game. So you got to go through. Maybe you set him down, and maybe you can put him back in. But if the sophomore comes out, throws a spark, and starts throwing bombs and scoring,
Michael.
Are the picks his fault?
I guess it's a valid point, too.
Yeah. One of them.
Were they bad reads or the receiver dropped the ball?
One of them was a bad read. One of them was because the receiver bounced off his hands and it was a tip pass.
How makes me sound like a butthead.
How long has he been the starter?
He's been a 3-year starter for them.
Okay. It's interesting. I actually sort of saw this play out this year. There's a team I cover. It's easy to figure out. That had sort of a similar quandary where they had a kid who was not a starter and he was kind of a utility guy. They had him playing quarterback. Had some issues, didn't go real well. They put a junior in his place, ended up winning 8 straight until they lost last week. But I know that there are a lot of coaches who will immediately say, well, we got to do, what's right for the future. And having him be a defensive kid too is, like you said, like, I don't want to break the kid.
Right.
But I agree. I mean, maybe you give him a drive. How close to the half am I?
Let's say, early in the game, you're halfway through the first quarter.
It might not be the worst thing to give him a drive, because, okay, go over, get your head right, watch and see what this kid does. Now you find out how good of a leader he is because you find out, does he go to the sophomore and say, okay, hey, I noticed this linebacker was doing this or that. You now get to find out, all right, do I trust him enough as a leader that maybe I can put him back in later, because you also find out, is he seeing things he maybe just didn't see the safety drop out of the corner of his eye and made one bad read. but you get a chance to prop him up. So, yeah, I would probably take him out too.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I think for myself, I think maybe you pull him just to get his head straight, just kind of talk to him, calm things down. But I think I definitely go back to him. I know that sophomore is definitely pressing on him, but, a 3-year starter that's had a lot of success. This team is very senior-driven. He's a leader on the team. I think you got to go with him for the rest of the season, but maybe for that drive or just a little bit, let the sophomore play and, kind of get the composure of the senior quarterback. But, yeah, it's interesting. Some of these scenarios, we've kind of seen some of them play out from some of the local teams too. So, these are decisions that coaches have to make on the regular, and it's really interesting to see how things play out.
So I think this is a very realistic scenario that we've seen almost for verbatim here.
We play long enough, we might see the whole stack in the pile of snow up that Keith was talking about last week.
Oh, there's a chance of snow next week, so who knows?
There's a chance of snow, I think, Thursday this week.
But I think that's something on a football team is, especially being a senior and, if you're a leader or captain, you have a lot of success. That is something that is so valuable for a team too. And it's hard to win the respect of a locker room, especially as an underclassman. You're coming in and, a lot of seniors, they can get the attitude that, we're not going to listen to this kid. He's just a sophomore. He doesn't have as much experience as us.
But if that senior puts his stamp on the kid,
now
you go into that huddle and, hey, guys, we're doing this.
True.
Oh, Johnny said he's cool with this. All right, let's roll.
That's very true too. Yeah. But, I think for sure, I think you got to pull him out for a drive or two and let him get his composure. But I think you come back to it. And,
take some time, show him what's going on with the defense. Like maybe he didn't see something right, that kind of thing, and talk to him and maybe go back to him. But it's one of those things, if the sophomore goes out there and starts lighting it up,
he comes out there and throws a touchdown pass. It's like, give him another drive.
Maybe you stick with him a little longer and see what happens. And if he just keeps, and I always bring up the Tom Brady thing. If he just goes out there and lights it up, well, then, your starter might not be coming back.
Or you can
use playing defense.
Use one as a decoy.
Yeah. Right. That's true, too.
Yeah, you play a 2-quarterback offense.
But, there's a lot of variables that play into this, but just a little segment we like to throw in here just with the, the podcast kind of get a little shorter on things, too. So we'll keep doing that and, see how much longer we have the podcast for. So we're going to get into our buy or sell segment here next. And, again, that's where people submit these. And a little bit different than hot takes. Buy, we're going to agree with, or sell, we're going to disagree with. And we'll kind of go around, each give our little bit of statement and, give our analysis of why we agree or disagree. So let's start things off. And I'll select everyone at random, and then we'll go around in circles. So let's start with the first buy or sell take. St. John's Cinderella run ends with Grove beating them by 30+. Let's go to Michael. We're going to give him the start right away. Are you buying or selling? And you got to hold up your sign. 30+.
That's a big number.
That's a big number.
All the crazy projections have it at like 35 or something. Drew Pastor, I think, has it at 33 or some. Really? But he's not. I don't put a lot of stock in those because he's not exactly been right on a lot of games. I've had 4 or 5 games this year that he's been just woefully off of. I don't know how that comes between them and Cal Preps and all of that.
St. John's has them, or Drew Pastor has them beating St. John's by 34.
I love St. John's, and we talked about this earlier on. I think that Todd Schulte is just a wonderful coach, but I don't think they are old enough right now to be in this kind of game. And having talked to Andy Schaefer recently, he was pretty fired up, and I just don't know who stops Columbus Grove.
Very well said. AJ, buying or selling?
The 30 is what makes me question it. I don't know if they put up 30-point differential. I don't think they have a problem putting up 30 points. It might be like 30 to 35-7 or something like that. But I would say they win by 3 scores. But to have a running clock in regional finals is, man, I wish the best of luck to those guys to do it. But I'm going to have to sell on this one just because it's the 30 points. Not taking anything away from them because they definitely handle St. John's. I just don't know it's going to be 30.
Tony? Buying or selling?
Yeah, see, I had the same problem.
30 points.
So 30 points.
That's a massive number.
I definitely think St. John's ends their Cinderella run.
Oh, yeah.
By 30. Coach Schaefer, this is for you, buddy. Get it done.
All right.
I mean, I look at their stats. Delphus is only scoring 17 points a game. Columbus Grove scoring 41 points a game. I think the possibility of them putting a running clock on them is possible. So go get it done.
And for myself, I am going to buy. I think that's no question in my mind. After hearing Coach Schaefer talk, and especially, kind of looking at the breakdown, Delphus St. John's, they've truly had a Cinderella story, but, eventually those come to an end for a lot of teams. Being the 15 seed, they've had a lot of success. Talking to Michael, you said they're a very young team as well, too.
Yeah, a lot of their skill guys. And really look at, you can't not always make of common opponents or whatever. I mean, St. John's loses 71-0 to Marion. Marion's a big physical offense. You look at the Minster game in St. Henry. I mean, 42-9. You got 21-0. That game was later, but Coldwater beat them 35-0. I mean, these are all the teams that are on that caliber of Columbus Grove. And
right.
I think Grove's defense is better than Leipsic's, and you were only able to put up 21 on Leipzig's defense. It's going to be a long night, I think.
And that was the big thing I looked at. When I first saw this buy or sell take, I looked at comparison. I looked at their schedule, and just looking at the scoring margin, or the margin of victories and losses that they had. And I weighed that really heavily. And I think because of that, and granted, Delphus St. John's plays in the MAC. Those are tough schools. But again, you're talking a whole nother caliber. I think Columbus Grove is on a caliber similar to those teams in the MAC. And for that, I think they make a statement this game because they're definitely – I know you're not supposed to look ahead to another game, but you can tell I think those kids are really excited to play the following game, which they would potentially match up if everything plays with Marion Local in the state semis. So for that, I have to buy. All right, next statement. Someone wanted to say Patrick Henry is equal to overrated. That's a bold statement. Patrick Henry's had a solid run, 2 back-to-back solid runs. And if they win the regional final, I believe this is the first time since the 2004-2005 season that they had back-to-back regional final championship. So a lot of success for PH, Coach Inselman, all the Georges over there. Tony, buying or selling this?
This one's easy. This one's easy. I'm selling. I don't think there's a whole lot to discuss on this. PH has been playing superb. Their only 2 losses are Liberty Center and Columbus Grove, 2 powerhouse schools this year. No, they're not overrated at all.
Yeah, I agree with you. I am selling. If anything, I think they're underrated. I mean, like we had talked throughout the entire year, I think they were kind of overshadowed by some teams. Their only 2 losses came from Columbus Grove and Liberty Center. 2 teams that are still playing in the playoffs to this day. They have really great athletes. It was good to see them firsthand and in person. Guys like Cal Schrader, Lincoln Krieger, Grant Smith. I mean, the list goes on and on. I mean, there's so many great players that they have.
Jaden Punches.
Jaden Punches had 2 interceptions. Reed Krieger had an interception. So, I mean, there's a lot of solid players. So for that, I don't think PH is overrated. I mean, I think they are definitely exceeding expectations, especially you look at last year, the whole quarterback change.
Yeah.
Krieger, he's a great athlete. He's back there playing quarterback. He's leading them to win after win after win. PH is hitting their full stride, and this is the best time of year to do it. So for that, I'm selling. Michael?
Someone's going to say, look at their 5 of their 11 wins are against teams that are winning records, but 4 of those 5 are basically against 500 teams. They knock out Hopewell Loudon. I don't know that surprised people. It didn't surprise me. I feel like I can't sell this enough just because how do you come up with that?
Yeah.
I mean, you look at them, and we've talked about them a lot, but that's a darn good football team, and they're still playing for a reason.
That's right.
AJ?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I can't sell it enough.
They throw it at them. Here, take 3 of these.
They played the number 1 team in the region last week and made them look like they were a peewee football team. I mean, realistically, they absolutely completely dominated on every stat, every level, dominated the number 1 team in the region.
Right.
And an undefeated team, too.
And an undefeated team. You can't tell me that they're overrated when they do something like that to a team like Hopewell Loudon.
The underrated part, when they come in, they're the 4 seed, right? In their region. And that to me just tells me that they were underrated.
And beating the 1 seed like they did in Hopewell Loudon, that just doesn't happen by accident either. Sometimes I feel like you can get away and say, well, I mean, if you only won by 1 score, or the game was tight, they squeaked by with that one, but not this.
The mistake made a difference.
This was absolutely dominated in every aspect of the game by Patrick Henry all night long. First quarter through fourth quarter, I mean, it was just an absolute butt kicking. And there's no other way to put it. I mean,
and multiple coaches this week have told me of other teams they see them winning this week. So who am I if other coaches who have seen these teams play are breaking it down and saying, if I had a gun in my head, I'd pick PH.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, we're going to get into that too here soon, but I absolutely agree with that. All right, next buy or sell segment or statement. 0 state championships come out of Northwest Ohio, out of our coverage area, excluding Toledo Central Catholic. They want to throw that out there. So we're excluding the MAC, so we're looking at the final teams.
But you're taking away half of Northwest Ohio.
I know. I get questioned
because
this a lot.
Northwest Ohio to you is different than Northwest Ohio
It
to
is.
me.
I know. I get asked this all the time. But in our coverage area.
Our coverage area.
So that's Liberty Center, Patrick Henry, Columbus Grove, out of those 3. And they're saying 0 state championships come home to Northwest Ohio out of our coverage area.
Out of
AJ?
our coverage area, I mean, there's a lot of competition some of these teams are going to be facing in the next 2 weeks to make it to state. With Liberty Center, they got Edison and then potentially South Range, Columbus Grove, looking at potentially Marion Local if they make it past this week. PH, looking at some tough competition.
Coldwater.
Yeah, they're going to be matching up probably against Coldwater if things play out. I don't know. I think if they make it past state semifinals, if they win against those MAC teams, I think they win the state championships. You could very easily be looking at 0 teams or 3 teams coming home with state championships out of our region, or out of our, I guess our region, our coverage area. You could be looking at 3 teams. So it's a coin toss. It really depends on who shows up and who wants to play and earn that win. I am going to sell this. I think one of the 3 teams at least will come home with state championship this year.
Tony.
AJ said it perfect. I think you have the likelihood of coming home with 0, but I think you have the likelihood of coming home with 3.
Yeah.
And I agree with exactly what you said, AJ. But I think I'm going to sell this. I think somebody's coming home with a state championship.
I agree. AJ, you had said it 100%. You took the words out of my mouth. I think there's just a really good vibe around some football in the area, and a lot of times you need a little bit of magic here in the playoffs. And I remember going back to my sophomore year, for baseball when we won a state championship at Tenora. We were never supposed to be down there at state. We had some success and we had made it down there a couple times, and same with some of these other schools. I mean, this isn't the first time these schools have been down here. Actually, last year, all 3 of them made it down to the state semifinals at least. So this is familiar ground for all these teams, and I agree with you. I think either it's potential. 0 teams could make it, or 3 teams could win a state championship. But I definitely think at least one of these 3 teams comes out with a state championship in 2024. I've got a really good feeling about it. I mean, I really do.
I think the coolest thing about this conversation is that all 3 of these teams that we're talking about were there last year, and I think everybody can agree that the 3 teams this year are better than their counterparts from last year, all 3 of them.
Yeah.
I think Liberty Center this year is better than they were last year. PH is better this year than they were last year, and so is Columbus Grove. I don't think anybody can dispute that. You look at stats for these teams, they're better on paper. They're better when you watch them. I think the chance is better this year than it was last year for sure.
I think it's an incredible thing with these 3 teams. We always ask the question, how are they going to reload and how are they going to perform next year after losing X, Y, and Z?
Yep.
But they continue to do it, these 3 programs, and they're all very well coached. Look at Coach I, you look at Coach Schaefer, you look at Coach Moeller. I mean, these are some guys that know how to coach the game of football,
Absolutely.
and they know how to really connect with their players too. And they get 110% buy-in from everyone on the team. And like I said, I agree. I think one of these teams comes away with the championship this year. Michael?
Even with the amazing amount of quantifiers that this question has, I can't take this, I can't have that, this is disqualified. I still can't say this enough because, again, Northwest Ohio, to me, is going to get at least 3. It's just how it is. I mean, I look at, even if you look at D7, Hillsdale, nice program. Cuyahoga Heights, all right, same thing. The Danville Dans and Beaver Eastern, who I assume are the Beavers. I don't know that to be true. I don't really think that any of that matters because let me just explain to you why. Marion, Minster, Grove, Bluffton. I mean, look at all the teams we have. I will pick Northwest Ohio because coaching and, like you said, all the kids buy in. I think it could be, honestly, anywhere from, let's just take them all, really. Let's just be greedy.
Honestly,
I'd
if
love
you
to see
expand it outside of just what we cover, but you just divide the state into quadrants, and you look at who's in the top left of that state, there's a good chance that 5 of the 7 divisions come back to the Northwest Ohio teams. I mean, it could be pretty cool, especially with the MAC and some of the teams we cover.
Toledo Central Catholic
Toledo
up in
Central
Toledo.
Catholics up there.
No, this says they don't count.
I know.
I'm
but
excluding. I'm not talking about
he
that
had
here,
said
'cause
it, you know,
That's
going
why
outside.
I said that was the thing about your coverage area and my coverage area
Okay.
of how do you determine what Northwest Ohio is?
Real
Do you
quick,
go
divide it
from-
in quadrants.
what do you consider? What's the southern border of, like, where do you draw your lines? I know I draw my lines because I'm based in Defiance, so I kind of take a radius and I draw it out from there. Obviously, I can't cover everything because I like to pick a group and cover them well rather than cover 5 million schools. But
This is the problem I have with my own podcast of figuring out what that circle looks like.
Yeah.
Because being from Spencerville, does my circle go from there? Or I live in Findlay. Does it go to Findlay? I work in Salina. Does it go from there? Or does it, you know?
geez.
But I tend to go with whatever the districts actually are.
Okay.
Because then Fort Loramie, despite being on the back half of New Bremen, doesn't necessarily count because apparently that's where the line is. Okay, so I don't get Versailles. I don't technically get Anna. But they're MAC schools, and the MAC is based in the Midwest, in the Northwest.
I guess if I'm looking at big picture, I basically consider outside of my coverage area. I kind of look at the MAC as like the southern kind of border of Northwest Ohio. Is that fair?
I would kind of
Well,
agree with that.
again, geographically, yes, because Fort Loramie,
yeah.
who's now in the Northwest Conference, cuts it off, or at least in football. But go look at any Dayton News. See when they pick up Marion, Coldwater, Anna, Versailles in the playoffs. Why? Because they know they're going to be there.
Yeah.
I think like the Kalida is kind of the cutoff line.
Like just
you know,
for our general,
average.
yeah.
It's going south as far as, you know, it's like Kalida, Miller City.
I mean, really for us, Grove and OG are kind of the southern
they're
border
probably
of us.
farthest,
Yep.
yeah.
But
Van Wert a little bit.
Yeah, we do cover Van
Geographically,
Wert.
looking at Northwest Ohio, I'm thinking all the way down to maybe Sydney. I mean, you're
Oh, geez,
looking
that's
at.
way
I'm
down.
I
looking
think
at
That's a little
map.
far down there.
I mean, I'm looking at map, like halfway down the state. Sydney is about the halfway point between the northern and southern border.
Really?
Yep, that's pretty
Well, I
close.
don't know about that.
it's a haul for us.
That seems-
That's
yeah.
almost 2
It's
hours.
a haul.
2.5 hours.
But you know, I'm looking at the state right now, and you divide it halfway this way. Sydney's right on that border, you know, north or south. Like Salina would definitely be in there, whereas Sydney would maybe be on the south side of that. But getting all the way over, you know, Marion would pretty much be the eastern side, going up into maybe Sandusky area, just west of Sandusky. So that would be my northwest part of the state, because geographically that's the northwest.
That could be a hot take in itself.
Oh, yeah.
What do you consider Northwest Ohio? So, all right. Well, let's go ahead. Let's get into the hot takes presented by BSN Sports. Again, these are always submitted by fans, and we like to discuss these a lot. So we'll get into some good conversation here, and we've got a couple of really, really good ones too. So the first one, and we've already kind of touched on a little bit, Northwest Ohio is the most under-recruited area in the Midwest. I had said it before too. I think, you know, might have to do with a couple things. I think just being in a rural area, I think it's harder for coaches to cover, you know, kind of get to more schools and things like that. And being smaller, I think some of these schools don't necessarily have the resources. You know, maybe they have, I don't know, like Huddle, for instance. Like I said, back when I was playing, you know, we didn't even have Huddle at the time, which is an online, you know, video sharing platform. And, you know, luckily my grandpa helped sponsor that, you know, to get that up and going. But, you know, when I got recruited from Findlay, we didn't even have Huddle, so I had to pay a guy to make a physical DVD.
What's a DVD?
Yeah, right. Make a DVD. I went on a regular academic visit to Findlay. I stopped by the coach's office. I handed them the film, introduced myself, shook their hands, and, you know, they said they would look at it. And, you know, after that, you know, they started getting some interest and things like that. But, you know, it's tough. I think coming from this area, I think you really have to market yourself, and you really have to advocate for yourself. I know it's hard to do for a lot of players, you know, being humble about yourself, but you almost kind of got to brag about yourself too. Put yourself out there on social media. Get out to college coach camps. You know, be seen by those. I know sometimes the third-party camps, you know, there's a lot of them out there. You know, those are okay to get some exposure, but you definitely get to the colleges. You know, get some eyes from the actual coaches that, you know, could potentially be coaching you. Market yourself on social media, put your film out there, and market yourself to coaches. You know, send your film to coaches. You know, if you're around a campus, go to campus, go meet the coaches in person. I mean, you really have to stick your neck out there if you're from Northwest Ohio. It's unfortunate because, like I said, I do think there's a lot of really, really good athletes in the area that could definitely go on to, bigger schools. I know a lot of schools get recruited by Division III and NAI, and those are fine, but, Division II, Division I, I think there's a lot of potential in the area, but it's just one of those things. It's Northwest Ohio. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts?
I was kind of thinking geographically, too, it's kind of in a bad spot because you've got Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati. So you got this line. So if coaches are going to travel, heading out that direction, Northwest Ohio doesn't really have any high concentration of schools, maybe a little bit in Toledo, but you don't really have like multiple schools in the same general area, general space. So it's hard for coaches to be like, yeah, let's go hit up a couple games tonight, see what some of the talent is. Whereas if they had, Northeast or Southwest, they can kind of pick and choose a couple of schools, in the cities that make a huge difference. And I think you look at recruiting for like Ohio State, that's where they get a lot of things from, is like Cleveland area, some Cincinnati. Never really get anything from Toledo. Definitely, I don't really see anything from like Southeast Ohio much either because there's not a whole lot.
That's pretty kind of rural area,
yeah,
too.
it's kind of the same thing as Northwest Ohio. So I think it's just kind of a diagonal line that recruiting coaches hit from all over the country. You just kind of hit those three major cities because it's easier.
Or if you're Connor Stallions, he actually – did you guys watch that documentary at all? Mm-hmm. He documented and made like this form of where every single NFL draft pick has been from, and for like recruiting purposes. So basically he had broke down a system of, let's say 15 players were drafted from Cleveland, Ohio over X amount of years. So trying to use that map to kind of go get the really good athletes. I don't know. That's his rationale, but that was kind of interesting too. But Tony, what are your thoughts?
I do agree that it's very under-recruited. There's a lot of talent in the Northwest Ohio area, and we just talked about where that Northwest Ohio line is, but there's a lot of talent in Northwest Ohio, and I don't think people get up here and watch, right? Because you're
in the boonies per se.
Yeah, I mean, you're in the cornfields, right? So it's like hey, where's Sonora at? Well, it's in Defiance. We're at in Defiance. Well, you go to Defiance and go north. What do you mean go north? Well, you go out of town. So I mean, it's like, and I'm just using Sonora as an example, but but you do have to make yourself available. You do have to get yourself recruited. And this is the same thing in softball. You've got to recruit yourself. And what I always tell the kids is, pick 5 schools from each division, that where you could see yourself really going to and really being enjoying being there. Do some research on your school to make sure, number one, they have the major that you want, that kind of thing. And then you're going to have to get yourself recruited just because of this fact. I think this is a great hot take, and I think it's a true statement. So you're gonna have to do some legwork.
Yeah, and one thing that I showed you guys the video earlier. A coach from SMU, I believe it was he's a football coach, but talking the first thing now, and recruitment is more competitive now than it ever has been because of the transfer portal too. Right. And for that example, they were only taking 7 high school kids in their recruiting class, which that's pretty low for the most part. And but like he said, they're having to compete against all these guys in the transfer portal, and and he said those guys are darn good. So not only are you competing against fellow athletes out of high school, you're competing against guys in the transfer portal as well too. So in the first thing that he brought up more than anything else was grades. Yep. He said if your grades are not good, we are already crossing you off the list. And his point was, if you don't get good grades in high school, what makes you think that we think you're going to get good grades in college? And you're an investment at that point. Like he said, tuition for 1 year of school was $80,000, I believe is what he said, and a scholarship was worth $120,000. So he said, you go to school for 4 years, you're a $500,000 investment in the school in terms of scholarships. So, I mean, when you put it that way, it really makes you think. Anything that you can do to leverage and give yourself an advantage over someone else, you need to do it. Right. So, Michael?
I mean, I agree because we just have had coaches say – this is a travesty that more kids aren't being recruited. But there is also a way, because think of Janias Hall, the quarterback at Lima Senior. Think of basically he's got an entire media team following him this year, and he's getting looks, and he's getting his receiver looks in Boog Wilson, and people are going, oh, Lima, okay. Well, I've heard this from other coaches. Now they're coming down to the Lima area, and they're going, okay, St. Mary's is playing at Bath. All right, well, Bath's only 10 minutes from Lima Stadium. Depends on how quick you drive and you hit that roundabout. But, then they might go to, Elida to see, they've got a defensive lineman who is just an absolute freak of an athlete. All right, well, maybe then we're able to go somewhere else. But I think you're right. I mean, we talked about it earlier, right? It's definitely about doing it yourself now. You have to have Instagram, you have to have TikTok, you have to have, Blue Sky or whatever the deal is this week, that people have to find it. But overall, coaches will find talent.
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
just a matter
you got to have the
of
talent too.
what that means.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I think it's a shame. I mean, like you said, coaches will find talent. I'm not saying, kids won't get recruited, but I think that there's a lot of athletes in the area that could definitely go to, more competitive levels.
Right.
Division, like I said, 2, 1, whatever it may be. So definitely an interesting topic, but, definitely got to do some work on your end in terms of the recruitment process. So if you just sit back and you're Northwest Ohio and, you do have really good talent, you definitely have to do a little bit of legwork on your end.
You think they're just going to come get you? You're sadly mistaken. The camps is the biggest thing. I mean, you got to get in front of them, either sending them videos or, because you got to remember these coaches are going to receive hundreds, not thousands of emails from athletes that want, hey, take a look at me, take a look at me. So if your kids are going to make a video, don't make it 20 minutes long.
Yeah.
Make it 2 minutes tops, to some clips, boom, done. So they can take a quick look at it. They're not wasting all day.
Yep, I agree. So this is a good hot take, and I'm sure that this will be visited and, definitely podcast in the future. I think that's for sure. So let's move on to the next hot take. Trent Barraza will not be looked at historically as overall better than Blaine Mag if Grove doesn't win a state title. And kind of the second part to that, it's more impressive what Barraza has accomplished than Blaine Mag because Grove has thrown the ball way more in this day and age than when Blaine was in school. So definitely an interesting hot take. So, Michael?
You fire whoever sent this to you.
Michael, you want to start this one?
All right. Now, this is funny only because he and I were joking about me sending in random things. And also, I almost brought you a bunch of DVDs of football movies that you actually need to watch. But I figured
I know.
I just give you a
still need
list
to
and
watch
you
a
can go
lot.
stream them yourself.
There you go.
But it was honestly just to kind of create conversation because I hear people say things all the time. And you read things and idiots online of, he's good, but I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends on how you're looking at it historically because people say, oh, numbers are numbers now. You look at everybody's in a spread. Everybody throws the football. Passing numbers are almost garbage now comparatively to whatever the record was. Think about like college, Timmy Chang at Hawaii. They threw 85 times a game. Well, of course he broke the record.
Right.
I think it was Ty Detmer, his record that he broke, but he threw so many more times. Grove's the opposite way because they don't throw. I mean, you talked about, 4 for 5, I think, from their starting quarterback.
I think so.
And Barraza, after his quarterback was injured this year, he, in the same game that he ran for 200 yards, was 4 of 6 passing.
Right.
So you don't have to do it a lot, but I just randomly was in the car and thought, how are people going to look at this historically?
Yeah, I think those are some very valid points.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely don't think you can take anything away from either of these guys. I mean, these are both going to be legends in Columbus Grove history for years
They're not
and
buying
years and
drinks
years to
the
come.
rest of their life. When he's of age.
But, it definitely raises a good question because, you look at even look at NFL quarterbacks. I'm trying to think, did Dan Marino ever win a Super Bowl? I can't remember if he did. There's some star legend Hall of Fame quarterbacks.
Did you just throw Dan Marino by the wayside just randomly?
Did he win a Super Bowl? I didn't think so. But
he won his rookie year in '84 and then, never mind.
So, I mean, you look at guys like that. I mean, they still have a legacy, but, I don't know that. I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah, and when it comes to, I just went back and looked. This week they threw the ball 11 times. They threw the ball 11 times, and he still ran for 287 yards. I mean, they probably didn't throw the ball as much back then, and I guess it comes down to just be happy for the kid.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. He's a stud.
But that's the thing is we have to compare everything. We have to knock
is true.
everything down.
We live in a
this is
day-
true, but
I feel like we live in a day and age where everything is compared to everything. So.
I mean, when you take 4 years in high school, and he ran for he's over 6,100 yards. That's incredible. I don't care who did it before, who did it afterwards, but
Right.
if that's a record and you break that, be happy for the kid. because I mean you had to be a stud for 4 years. I mean to get to that 6,000 yard.
We've talked
you know
about this too. Breaking stats today now with the running clock, I think is more challenging than ever. And the fact
that speaks volumes, right
and
there.
the fact that he did that, and look at how many games that Grove's had running clocks
Pretty much every single one
since it's been implemented. What year did the running clock start? How many years ago? Was it?
Geez, I don't know.
2 or 3? Was it right after COVID?
3 years ago.
I think it was before COVID.
Or was it before COVID?
Because we had a lot of them during COVID. I don't want to say 18 or 19.
Okay.
When it started. It's longer than you think.
So it's basically been around, for his entire career. And the fact that, with time not on his side, I mean, and he still beat the record. I think that stands out more than anything else.
Right.
Just look back to the season. You talk about the running clock. So they're talking about they ran the ball more back then and we're throwing the ball more now. But that running clock, I think, is a bigger deal than anything.
I do too.
Actually, 2014.
Wow.
Think about that.
Oh, I guess true. Yeah, I didn't even think about it. I guess it was when I was in high school. Jeez, I didn't even think about that.
I just looked back at our schedule. Grove's only had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games for the running clock this year. So half the games, that was through the regular season, not counting playoffs. So,
yeah, I think it's definitely interesting, but I think at the same time, this is a topic when you have two great athletes. I think instead of comparing, and I know it's easy for people to do, I think you just got to sit back and accept greatness from both of these guys. I mean, that's all you can do because and people are probably going to go round and round about, who's the top running back in Columbus Grove history, but this is just a scenario. You need to sit back and just appreciate the greatness that you're seeing from, Barraza.
And I pray that people don't hold the state championship, over Barraza's head if they would happen to not win it. Because, to win a state championship, that's a team thing. Just so are the yards.
It also involves a little bit of luck.
Yeah, I would say luck, too.
I mean, your
things
matchup
things have to roll the right way.
Yeah, who you match up with, and, you got to get a break here and there. And he's had a great career. He's going to continue that career, hopefully, for a few more games and continue to add those stats. And, records are made to be broken. So
tell you what, though, I wish I could have seen Blaine Mag play. I guess what year did they win? Was it 2003?
I went in 03, and he was a junior.
So I would have been 6 years old.
Oh, gee.
So it's been a while. So, but yeah, athletes like this, and we talked about Corey Griggs was another name that came up in weeks before. Like some of these local legends, I really would have liked to see him. I'm gonna have to YouTube and see if I can find some old game film with some of these great athletes. All right, let's move on to the next hot take. We got 2 more here, and this was sent in. This is kind of a longer one, but let it roll here. Bluffton is a postseason imposter and will be bullied by PH this Friday. That's a bold statement. First sentence. I know common opponents don't tell the whole story, but here is how I look at these 3 teams in the relation to one another. I've heard Columbus Grove fans refer to Bluffton as the little brother. I will insert Patrick Henry as the middle child in this relationship, meaning I believe that they are tough enough to beat Bluffton at any time and good enough to steal one from Columbus Grove had they been in the same division. Either way, PH is heading to the Final Four after a big victory Friday. So we've been talked about, PH, Columbus Grove quite a bit because they're still in the playoffs and they're doing well. But this is definitely an interesting take. I mean, I think AJ, you want to start?
Yeah, I would start off with that middle child thing and the tough enough to beat Columbus Grove for PH. I'm sure I can tell you that Andy Schaefer would tell you that he wouldn't have a problem with PH. He would be like, yeah, we'll beat them. But I know that in the back of his mind, he would not want to play a rematch against them this year with the way they're playing. He can take a sigh of relief that they don't have to match up in playoffs because that is definitely a game that PH could steal from them, especially playing the second time in the same season. Yep. And I think that Bluffton has played maybe an easier schedule a little bit. We kind of saw that, here and there, especially towards the end of the season, regular season, with the way Columbus Grove handled them. It wasn't even a competition. And I think PH definitely gives Columbus Grove a little bit closer of a game. And I think PH goes out and just handles it this weekend. I think they proved this one correct.
Yeah, I agree with you, AJ. I think Bluffton's kind of one of those teams. They're definitely a quality opponent.
Yeah.
They've had some success over the years, but last year, and I know people say about Bluffton having issues with big time games and things like that, but last year, if you remember, Bluffton played Grove tough, both I believe in week 10 and then in the regional finals. Was it regional finals or regional semifinals last year?
I think
one of the
regional
two
finals
at Donnell Stadium, which that game came down to the fourth quarter. So I think it all depends on what team you're going to get here. Bluffton obviously dropped a big one against Columbus Grove in week 10, but they definitely have some good athletes. The running back Wooster, he's a solid kid. But yeah, I agree. I mean, I think PH takes care of business on Friday. I think Bluffton plays decent, but I think, like I said earlier, PH is hitting their stride right now. That defense is tough, and I'd be curious to see, if, like you said, if PH and Grove were to play again, oh my goodness, that would be a heck of a battle. But fortunately for both teams, they don't have to because they're in different divisions. So, Michael, you have any comments?
Not that it won't get me banned from Bluffton. There's a couple of really nice places I like to eat there, and I really don't want them to spit in my tacos. But, I mean, I agree. Bluffton plays more of a finesse, quick passing. I mean, they've kind of always been like that, where PH, we talked about earlier, they just want to beat you up.
Yeah.
And having a lot of those teams, I mean, having Liberty Center, having Columbus Grove, I mean, I think it's kind of hardened them for that. I personally like PH this weekend. And that's not to say I don't like Bluffton. You have to pick somebody. And if I go by a lot of metrics and numbers I use, it kind of, when I look at it, I get a feeling of it's maybe not going to be Bluffton's night.
I say that's fair.
Yeah. I don't have much more to say. You guys kind of said that one. I kind of agree.
All right, let's go into the last hot take here. Giving all the teams some love this week in the hot takes, going on to Liberty Center. Someone said, went to the Liberty Center game, enjoyed the atmosphere. I was polling for LC, but no way they deserve to win that. If Oak Harbor's number 7 did not have mayonnaise jars on his hands, he catches those 2 80-yard streaks that he was 10 yards ahead of Collie on and scores them. Game over. I don't know. We watched the game some, and obviously they had some critical plays. But
I didn't see those two.
I did not see those, but they're reporting that they had some big-time plays that, if they would have converted on. But, Tony, you want to start?
Well, I mean, I did see the play where I don't know who it was that got burnt. I don't know if it was Collie or who, but got burnt and ended up being a pass interference called on it. So, I mean, whoever that was for Oak Harbor definitely had some speed, got behind him, and that's what Liberty Center will have to watch out for going forward is somebody who can just take the top off and outrun people. And hey, you know what? We just said sometimes you got to catch some breaks in the games, and if that's the guy not catching the ball, then this guy not catching the ball. But I just watched a game the other night where the guy was in the end zone and literally
Is that of the Colorado game?
Just hit him right in the chest and just dropped the ball.
Oh, or the Colorado guy who was standing 3 yards outside of the back of the end zone.
Oh, yeah, I saw that one too.
Oh, yeah.
I thought he was still in the end zone, but he was. So they blamed that on the guy who painted the end zone because they painted a black stripe around they had the white line. It was black end zone, white outline for the out of bounds line, and then black. And he was standing in the black, but he was behind the cone.
No, that's just spatial awareness.
Well, they had said something about they're blowing the grounds crew for Colorado some smoke because they said they're probably going to get fired after that.
Yeah, that was funny. But no, I just sometimes you have to catch breaks, and if that's what
you
it
do,
takes, and so
yeah, and if it was Collie or if it was someone else, I mean, Collie's one of the best defensive backs in the area, but. Every now and then, even the best athletes, they do have a mistake here or there. Look, I look at defensive back for Michigan, Will Johnson. He's projected one of the top picks in, this year's NFL draft. There's been times he's been beat too, and I mean it's hard, especially. And it was a hot take earlier in the season. We talked about the toughest position to play in football, and I said defensive back. I think defensive back is one of the toughest to play because you're having to react of what the receiver's doing a lot of times, especially if you're running man-to-man coverage, and you got to flip your hips and run. I mean, defensive back is a tough position to play, but yeah, I agree. Sometimes you have to have a little bit of luck, and that night, Liberty Center I think had just a little bit more than Oak Harbor, and but at the end of the day, Liberty Center is very, very talented, and that's what makes playoff runs fun. These games like this, and Liberty was able to pull that one out. But AJ, you have any comments?
Yeah, I absolutely hate hearing people say that a team deserves a win or doesn't deserve a win. They won, and that's all that matters. It's crap when they say that a team doesn't deserve the win, especially in playoffs. I mean, the team that gets the W is the team that moves on and the team that deserves it. That's why you line up on Friday night. If the team that deserves it is the one that got it every time. There's no reason to even line up on Friday night. You just give it to the team that you determine is the one that should win. Right. I get kind of passionate about this because I hear it a lot. I've heard it a lot this year with Liberty Center coming in the playoffs. The last 2 games, people have said, man, they realistically probably shouldn't have won the last 2 games, but they did. So who cares whether they deserve it or not because they won.
The Tenor Archbold game.
That's a different story. I will absolutely say that's a different story because that was not in their hands.
Going to fight you.
That's in a different category on its own. When it comes down to the athletes playing the way the athletes play, the team that deserves it is the team that won. Because you could definitely say there was more than likely 2 big plays that Liberty Center had that could have made a difference too, that maybe you didn't see. Like
you could say coulda, woulda, shoulda all night.
Liberty Center doesn't give up a touchdown on a kick return. Right. That takes away a touchdown. One guy missed an assignment, and that's why they scored a touchdown. Yep. You could go back and forth on that stuff all day long. Who should have, who shouldn't have, whatever happened. In the end of the day, all that matters is who gets the W.
Michael?
There are roughly 100 or more plays in a game. He's talking about 2.
Yeah.
Right. You still gave up 24 points. So to me, that's what? At least 4 plays?
Yeah.
Just 3 touchdowns and a field goal? 6 plays if you consider the extra point that the kid had to make. You still lost. Like you said, coulda, woulda, shoulda. You didn't.
Right.
Yep. I mean, it's 2 plays. All right, it's 2 scores. Okay, cool. But your defense still gave up 24 points.
Right. I think that you said it perfectly. I mean, it's just one of those things, but you're always going to have that in sports. Everyone's always going to bring up,
it's frustrating to hear.
Yeah, it is. But no, it's definitely going to always be discussed. So again, we thank those who sent in the hot takes again and BSN Sports for sponsoring that segment. It's always a fun one. So continue to send those in. The podcasts are winding down. Not sure how much longer we'll do it. Maybe 1 or 2 more, but we'll see. But continue to send those in. We have a lot of fun. Have a lot of great conversations as well. So continue to send hot takes and buy or sell segments in. All right, we're going to take a break to hear from our sponsors and we'll be right back with Round 4 playoff game predictions. BSN Sports is your go-to business for purchasing uniforms, equipment, spiritwear, and anything else your athletic program needs, giving you more time to impact lives on the field. With over 1,200 sales professionals who live, work, and serve in your community, you're always just a short drive or phone call away. Be sure to give your local sales rep and Jim Garris a call for any of your athletic supply needs. Optimal Performance Fitness is your go-to gym in Northwest Ohio, providing group fitness classes, personal training, and sports performance sessions for area athletes. Located in Napoleon, Ohio. Give them a call today at 419-438-7265.
Baden Stevens Body Shop is your #1 voted auto body shop in Northwest Ohio. We are your experts on all makes and models and are the only Chrysler, Ford, and GM certified collision repair center in the area. Located in Jewel, Ohio. Give us a call today at 419-497-3111 to schedule your free estimate. Come check out the Baden Stevens Body Shop difference.
Titan GPS delivers technological superiority and improved player performance through wearable GPS made for high school football and strength and conditioning programs. From speed training to athlete recruit to workload enhancement, Titan is the easy-to-use yet comprehensive GPS tool to get it done. There's no minimum to get started, and Titan will walk you through every step to success. Message us on X Titan Sensor to learn more and get in touch. Marco's Pizza is honored to sponsor NWO Sports, serving your pizza of choice in Northwest Ohio. Defiance, Archbold, Wauseon, Delta, Bryan, Napoleon, Paulding, and Montpelier. Order online at marcos.com today. Remax Realty of Defiance has represented Defiance County for nearly 40 years. Located at 1401 South Jefferson Avenue in Defiance, we have 13 agents ready and available to assist you in home buying or selling needs. You can check out all the listings at www.remax419.com or call us at 419-784-3029. Let our years of experience go to work for you. For 26 years, Burkholder Taxidermy has been Northwest Ohio's trusted full-service taxidermist. From game heads to lifelike mounts, we provide exceptional quality and craftsmanship. Preserve your memories with Burkholder Taxidermy, where experience meets excellence. Located at 19331 Buckskin Road, Defiance, Ohio. Give them a call at 419-782-9538. Fairchild Family Chiropractic aims to help families to get better together in the least invasive way possible. Dr. Fairchild focuses on the neck using the Blair technique and Palmer package, adjusting to correct spinal misalignments. Located in Defiance, Ohio. Call Dr. Fairchild today at 419-576-5070 to schedule an appointment. DeLarber Concrete and Hauling is your go-to provider for concrete and hauling needs. Flat work, pole barn floors, driveways, and patios. Hauling services for stone, mulch, and dirt. Call Josh for your free estimate at 419-576-0401. Jimenez Basketball Academy strives to create an atmosphere to cultivate basketball fundamentals in Northwest Ohio youth athletes, offering one-on-one sessions, group sessions, speed and agility training, and much more. Located in Pettisville, Ohio. Call Coach Jesse today at 419-551-8105. Check out Tenora Rams Live. Live events broadcast on YouTube and post-game results, articles, schedules, and more can all be found on tenorarams.com. Feel free to look up their Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram pages as well. Northwest Ohio Basketball hosts premier basketball tournaments for boys in grades 3 to 8 in the area. Upcoming tournaments are right around the corner. Give them a call today at 419-283-5296 or check out their website at nwoball.com. The Drop Zone Pizzeria is the #1 voted pizza restaurant in the region. Check them out for pizza, wings, subs, and more. Located in Ayersville and Stryker, or ask them about their traveling food trailer. Truland Equipment and Salesman Lauren Brown are your go-to for John Deere equipment in Archbold, Ohio. Mowers, compact tractors, skid loaders, and more. Your sales expert on commercial turf and CCE sales. Give Lauren a call today at 419-445-1565. Looking to remodel or expand your home? Building with Faith Construction specializes in quality remodeling services and additions to make your dream space a reality. From general construction to detailed renovations. Trust Building with Faith to bring experience, reliability, and craftsmanship to every project. Give them a call today at 419-980-8850. Start your day off right at Paulding Pancake House, serving up delicious breakfast, lunch, and dinner from Tuesday through Sunday. It's your go-to spot for home-style meals at any time of day. Swing by and enjoy everything from classic pancakes to hearty lunch and dinner options. There's something for everyone at the Paulding Pancake House. Craving a local favorite? Head to Ensign's Pub, where you'll find the best hot beef sandwiches and famous knockers in town. Whether you're celebrating after the big game or just need a great meal, Ensign's has you covered. Stop by for great food, cold drinks, and good company. Located on 611 Ottawa Avenue in Defiance, open Tuesday through Saturday. Back on the NWO Sports Podcast, and we're on to Round 4 playoff game predictions. So let's get things rolling. Only have 3 teams in our local coverage area. We're going to go to the NWO Sports Game of the Week first, and we'll be live at this one covering. So be sure to say hi to us if you see us. We always like talking football. You know, definitely talking to fans, and players, coaches, whoever. Free sandwiches. We're always down for food too. So, but this is the number 2 seed Liberty Center, 13-0, facing off against the 1 seed Milan Edison, 13-0 at Lake High School. This is a matchup the entire Northwest Ohio area has been waiting for in Division 5, Region 18. We had been talking about this for the last few weeks too, and I said it. This game will be the most physical game of the year between two programs built on physicality, toughness, and grit. I mean, you guys had said, state semifinals, state championship, but I think this is going to be an absolute dogfight. Milan Edison, looking at this, is a state powerhouse in wrestling, finishing up runner-up in Division III last season. I was there covering the wrestling matches, and those kids definitely know how to use their hips. And, you get those guys in the trenches. I'm not sure which ones returned back, but Edison has some dogs that are wrestlers, and, that always converts well to the football field as well. But my big thing is, if you want to see some big, tough, bad dudes play on Friday night, you better be at Lake High School, and you better be there at 4 p.m. to get in line to get a seat, because I said there may not even be standing room available. I was looking, and Lake Community Stadium's listed capacity is 3,222. For reference, Clay High School, where Liberty played last year, and we were at that game, the regional semifinal versus Oak Harbor, holds 5,500, and they fill that entire stands up. So, and for another comparison, Rex Lindgren Stadium only holds 2,400. So everyone from Liberty Center and probably Henry County, a lot of them are going to be at that game. So between that and PH, Henry County is going to be empty on Friday night. So looking at this game, Drew Pasture has Liberty Center picked to win by 9. Some other different things to look at. Matchup breakdown. Liberty Center's offense is averaging 42.3 points per game. Defense is giving up 4.8 points per game. Milan Edison is averaging 33.5 points per game on offense, giving up just 8 points per game on defense. Liberty's best win of the year came last week. Regional semifinals versus Oak Harbor, ended up winning 24-21. Oak Harbor is undefeated to that point. Milan Edison's best win was Week 7 versus Sandusky. Perkins, who is now 12-1, and they're going to the regional final in Division 4, Region 14. So two solid teams. And like I said on last week's podcast, I mean, I think this one is going to be physical. I think there's going to be some injuries, some crucial injuries, because that's just the way that these two brands of football are going to play. They're going to run the ball a lot. They're going to be very physical. It's going to be a great smash mouth football game. So you better be there on Friday night. With all that being said, give me the Tigers. I cannot not take Liberty Center. They've been there last year. This is, again, familiar ground for Liberty Center, Coach Moeller and the boys. I think they learned a little bit from last week. I think they learned from their mistakes. They're self-critical. They continue to improve. But I think Liberty Center goes out there on Friday night, and they make some noise, and they end up giving it to Edison in the regional final. So I'm going Liberty Center.
I'm right there with you, Logan. I think Liberty Center comes out on top on this one. It's going to be, like you said, the one of the most physical games of football we see all year, at least from our coverage. 1 and 2 going in there, 1 and 2 both being very physical, smash mouth football teams. It's going to be a fun one to watch. I'm really looking forward to this game. Hope Liberty Center comes out on top. I'm pulling for them, but man, they have a fight on their hands for sure.
Michael?
I look at this game, and I look at, obviously, Edison's schedule, and I go to the Gibsonburg game because, obviously, Gibsonburg hosted Leipsic. Leipsic beat Gibsonburg, but it was a 12-7 game in Week 3. I don't know what you take of 10 weeks ago, but it's one of the only times where they have a really good win. You talk about Perkins, and that was a close game of a 1-point game. I don't know that their schedule maybe necessarily gives them a chance against a team like Liberty Center, but I worry about what you talked about earlier about Liberty Center being beat up and about how that wears on you. I think that might make it a little closer than maybe people expect. Maybe that's why Drew has it at 9. I would say a 2-score win. I mean, just gut feeling.
Yeah. I looked at a little bit of film on these guys, and they got a nice running back, Bryson Whitmer, I think is his name. 6'1", 220 pounds, big boy.
It's a solid back.
You look at him, he's a solid. He's got some big tree trunk legs, just like we saw before with some of those kids from the team that Sonora played, Carey.
Oh, Carey, yeah.
Big boys like that. So that they have a quarterback, Abe Hermes. He throws the ball well. But I think, Liberty Center, in my opinion, is going to have to get Grady Miller involved. Grady Miller is a big quarterback, 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", something like that. 200 pounds. They're going to have to get him involved. A little more like keepers, like we saw there, where they had him keep the ball coming around.
We saw Amstutz do that a lot late in the playoffs, and even throwing the ball a little bit more. Even if they could throw some check downs or get the ball out of the backfield to some of the running backs, I think that would be beneficial too.
I think people are starting to key in on Rentz. They're starting to key in on Muller. They're starting to key in on Cruz, and you're going to have to add Grady Miller as another realm on that. And I think if they can do that, they get him involved a little bit with some quarterback keepers, and on that keeper, give him an option that if the run's not there, he's got somebody to dump the ball to, kind of thing. I think Liberty Center handles this easy. I don't see them letting Whitmer run crazy on him. If they let Whitmer get loose, he's fast too. He's not only big, he's quick, and once he gets second level, he can run away from you. So, but I take Liberty Center.
I kind of want to go back on what I said. Thinking about the way Liberty Center plays and watching the last 2 weeks, I think a lot of Liberty Center's biggest weaknesses is probably the passing game. And I think Edison's obviously more of a run-heavy, smash-mouth football team. And I think that's Liberty Center's strength.
I think that plays right into their hand.
Yeah, so now that I think back to it, I'm going to say Liberty Center wins this by 2 scores. I think they can stuff the line. I think their front 7 can handle that. I think the danger for them comes on teams that are a little more finesse. I think that's where they're going to struggle.
Which would be the other side of the bracket, West Liberty, Salem, or Indian Lake.
Yep.
Ironton and Wheelersburg are more punch you in the mouth. And then, of course, South Range, a little more punch you. Seminary just kind of wants to run around you.
Right. Yeah, I now looking back and thinking about that, I think Edison plays right into Liberty Center's strengths, unfortunately for them.
Another thing for Liberty Center, if that's the case, because they can throw the ball. I watched the film. They can't throw the ball. Like I said, Abe Hermes got a nice arm. He's stinking elusive. He almost played like kind of like a Patrick Mahomes in a way. He just kept getting away. But he can throw the ball and he can throw it on the run. But the Liberty Center is going to have to get some pressure on him, which we have not seen the past couple of weeks. Them getting any kind of major pressure on the quarterbacks.
Yeah. Well, and that might be a little bit different this week too. If they know that their primary threat is going to be the run, if they're going to be stacking the box a little bit more, he may not even have a chance to get the ball off. They've got 5-6 guys coming at him.
Yeah, just real quick, a couple other picks. Keith had Liberty Center, and Matthew picked Edison. So Matthew picked against the grain. But, yeah, this is a matchup I've been looking forward to ever since the playoff brackets rolled out. I'm excited. I'm stoked for this matchup between Liberty Center and Edison. I mean, this is going to be one for the ages for sure. And you talk about guys, talk about putting pressure on the quarterback. I mean, you got guys like Xander Zeider. You said you guys were there in person and talked about he's a big dude. Yep. You talk about Waylon Rentz at linebacker, very physical player. I mean, they just have guys all over the field. Garrison Cruz, Stephen Brogan. I mean, the list goes on and on of who they've got athletes all over. But I think this night, Liberty goes out and they tear things up, and they just go about Liberty ways. So I'm excited for Friday night, that's for sure. All right, let's move on to the next game. We're looking at the 4-seed Patrick Henry, 11-2, facing off against the 2-seed Bluffton, 12-1. They are back at Donnell Stadium in Findlay. So looking at this game, Drew Pasture has Bluffton picked to win this game by 1 point. So with that being said, I think Drew Pasture is right a lot of times. I believe he's picking somewhere around, I heard, 87% on the season. Pretty accurate, and I think he does a fantastic job.
But he's missing some big ones.
But he is. Yeah, he is.
I mean, he takes swings.
Yep. But I'm going to say one thing. His algorithms do not take into consideration the intangibles of Patrick Henry, Patriots football team. I mean, the fierce competitiveness, the physicality, the determination, just to dominate their opponents in the playoffs is second to none of what we've seen, especially what we saw last week. But I can tell you one thing. On Friday, November 22nd at around 10 p.m., the kids from Henry County are going to be looking up at that scoreboard like they did last Friday at Donnell Stadium, and they're going to be taking it all in, heading to their second straight regional final championship. And like I said before, too, that's, I believe, only the second time they've done back-to-back since the 2004-2005 season. So give me the Patriots.
I'm just in awe of how they played last week, and can't imagine them not pulling this one out. I mean, it's not even a question to me that PH takes this one. I don't know by how much. It depends on how strong that defense continues to hold. But I think Patrick Henry handles Bluffton without a problem.
Good.
Landon Worcester, because we're just doing this. 162 yards, 6 touchdowns last week. He had 177 and 4 touchdowns against Ottawa Hills last year in that same game. This defense ain't that defense. That's not going to happen. I said it before, and if anybody wants to Venmo me, they can park at my house. I live right across the highway. It's probably like a mile and a half to the stadium, but I can give you a map. It's probably about as close as you're going to get to parking to Donnell Stadium on Friday night. But I think that, like you said, the folks from Henry County are going to be pretty happy on their way out of town. They might even hit all the restaurants, the ones that at least stay open smartly.
Yeah.
Tony?
Yeah, for me, Bluffton's got that Gieske kid at quarterback doing a nice job. And, again, he's kind of elusive, too, Mahomes-ish. PH, I don't think is going to have a problem handling him. The Georges and Coach H are going to be breaking down that film. You know that. And I think they're just going to put it to him. I don't say a running clock, but I think they're going to win by a couple touchdowns.
It's crazy. It's the first time they've ever met.
Yeah.
Wow.
They did confirm this morning.
They did have two.
But as far as everybody at PH knows, that the athletic department told me it's the first time they can find these two teams have ever met in football.
Huh.
Wow. That's really surprising.
They had common opponents. They both played Ayersville. They both played Columbus Grove. Bluffton beat Ayersville 63-7. Columbus Grove 42 nothing to Columbus Grove. And PH, they both played PH. PH played Ayersville, beat them 48-2, and they lost to Columbus Grove 27-13. So if that means anything, but I think PH.
It'll be fascinating too who survives this game physically, and then to look at they're going to take on whoever survives Coldwater and Anna.
Yeah,
which are markedly different football teams because it was a 34-18 game the first time that Coldwater beat Anna, but they're playing again. Anna likes to get out. I mean, they threw for 300 yards against the Cavaliers. It's a team that can get out. They throw the football. Nick Marino is a hell of a football coach. oh, but Chip Otton's pretty good too.
Yeah.
So you have to immediately go from whatever that high is of winning in Findlay to figuring out two teams, one who has been one of the best in the area for a long time in Coldwater, and one who I've said all year long, I think is one of the state's underrated teams in this division in Anna.
Yeah, and then you're going to get 12 hours basically to love the win.
Yeah.
And
if you win, Kirtland's waiting on the other side.
and you wake up Sunday morning, it's you're going to have to get to work right away
It
and
is.
figure out what you got to do.
You're going to have to flip a switch any of these
Yeah.
games. You're going to have to
Yep.
flip a switch quick. I mean, that's a tough thing is, you want to celebrate for a little bit, but, like you said, even Saturday, going into Saturday when you're going into,
Right.
practice or, little workout, things like that, you got to flip that switch quick and move on to the next week.
Yep.
So, and Keith and Matthew both had Patrick Henry as well. The last game here we have is the 15 seed Delphi St. John, 6-7, facing off the 1 seed Columbus Grove, 13-0. This is going to be this is one I'm taking Grove. Like I said earlier, I think Delphi St. John Cinderella story comes to an end. I think Grove is playing really, really well right now. I just don't know how they're going to stop Barraza. I mean, I don't think, any team's going to come relatively close until probably next round. If any team's going to have a chance at stopping Barraza, but he's on a roll. He's tearing things up. Again, we had discussed this. If you're Grove, you've got Plan B in your back pocket, but keep riding that horse all the way because he's going to take you. He has. He's taken them to an undefeated season. They're 13-0. They're playing really solid. The defense is playing very, very well. Coach Coles is doing a great job. Coach Roney's doing a good job. Coach Schaefer. Everyone. It's
Rody.
yeah, everyone.
Just want to make sure because he'll text me. I don't say his name.
That's the thing. I need to get a list of all the coaches that they have because their coaching staff does a phenomenal job. But
so do all the kids, by the way, because we talked about the offensive line and obviously about TB3. But think about it. Those other 20 kids are doing their job every night.
100%.
And maybe people aren't realizing, we talk about TB3, we talk about Barraza, we talk about whoever one of the 6 quarterbacks is they've used this week.
Yeah.
But maybe not about those rest of those kids who just go out, nose down, and do their job, play in and play out.
And that's the thing for a lot of these championship teams. It's not necessarily the star players are always great, but it's a lot of times the unsung role players that you need on the team to have success. Even if you're not sticking out, if you're out there playing significant minutes, you matter. Without you, nothing is complete. If you're not out there, who's to say that you don't make a big block or, you just do your assignment.
Like Rogan for Liberty Center.
I was going to say like the pick last week.
Exactly. So, again, that's with any of these teams, all 11 guys out there on the field for your team at that time, everyone matters. And it's important that you know your assignments and you play to the best of your abilities because that's what leads to wins. And, playing in big-time games, mistakes are amplified. So as long as you go out there, you do your job, you do it well, you do it 100%, good things are going to happen. So I think Grove, they're firing on all cylinders. They're going to go out there on Friday night. I think they win this one big, to be honest. And again, going back to the buy or sell, I think they win this one by 30+.
Oh, man. Woof, 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 woof.
Go Dogs.
Gonna go with the Dogs big time here. I think I don't think 30. I think 3 touchdowns. I would say 21 to 20.
I don't know. I'm taking 30+. I'm running with it.
I don't think they break the running clock margin here because I think Bluffton will do something just to keep it inside that margin, but they definitely handle it without a problem here.
St. John's, not Bluffton.
Oh, sorry.
Well, he already dog-bluffed.
Yeah.
We're in the Grove segment now. He's already
Delphus.
dog-bluffed. He just wants to take another shot at it.
Sorry, Delphus.
They're the little brother, remember?
St. John, Delphus St. John. They'll do something to keep it slightly close, but not that close.
And again, winner of that game gets the MAC. Last week, 236-27, the 5 games for the MAC. I talked to Seth Whiting, the head coach at Minster, this week, and I actually talked to him yesterday, and he said, we love that they get all the accolades and people talk about them. That's great for us. It's great for the conference. But at the end of the day, we want people to be talking about us. And if you're the team that slays the monster, 17 running clocks for the Flyers in their last 19 games. Martin RPI put this out. The other 2 games are against Minster. They're pretty good. It was 21-0 the first time they played 4 weeks ago now, and Minster was missing 2 of their big guns. Will it make a difference Friday? I don't know. But Marion's won 61 in a row. They won 61-0 last week. 2,464 to 297 in that span.
Good grief.
Jeez.
But their quarterback might not be playing this week or next week.
That's what I'm going to bring up. I thought I heard, and Marion Local runs they run the quarterback a lot. Am I right?
They do, but they have about 10 guys. They're kind of one of those multiple. If you were to see their numbers, none of them would jump out at you.
Really?
It would not jump off the page, and that's a big reason why they're not, first team Northwest District or the MAC Player of the Year or whatever, because they come at you with, you'll have 5 guys with 400 yards or more. And that won't just be the JV kids that will also have 400 yards because they play half the game. But that's what makes them so dangerous is their ability to come at you. And they gave up 14 points 2 weeks ago of the 30 they've given up all year.
Wow. Impressive.
That's why we've been talking about Marion and Grove all year. But don't think Minster won't give Marion a game.
Yeah. I'm going with Columbus Grove in this game. I think St. John's is Cinderella story, as we mentioned earlier, comes to an end. This Columbus Grove is going to be too much.
So did you announce your official pick? Did you say you're going Grove?
I just assume at this point all the nice things I've said about Grove.
I figured you would, but just getting the official statement out there. So.
Yes, I'm definitely picking Grove. And again, I said I love the St. John's team. I love their head coach, but I just don't see it.
Right.
And especially if I'm talking up to a fired up head coach. I will run through a wall now for that guy.
But yeah, it was great to see Delphos St. John's make history because they were the first 15 seed we talked about to make the regional finals. So, awesome job by those guys. But Keith and Matthew both had Grove as well, and so Columbus Grove across the board. But that concludes our game predictions. Closing thoughts, guys. Week 14.
Oh, it's gonna be exciting. I'm looking forward to going and watch Liberty Center again. That, like you said, Logan, that's going to be one heck of a matchup. I wish I could divide myself up and go watch all 3.
I know.
It sucks, but I'd like to definitely go watch Columbus Grove play. I think that'd be a fun game to go watch, but maybe next week.
Yep. Yeah. I don't have much more to say this week. It's been awesome kind of riding the wave of football this year. It always is, especially getting the playoffs. It's a lot of fun. So hopefully we can ride it, 3 more weeks here?
Yeah.
First of all, I miss Keith Brown.
Yeah, hopefully Keith gets healthy. Jeez.
Yeah.
Just want to point that out.
He got me sick or something. I don't know. I wasn't feeling too good Friday night, but I kind of been eating oranges and drinking all kinds of stuff to try to keep myself healthy. So
I think, again, if you go back about 20, 25 minutes and listen to the conversation about where Northwest Ohio is, there's a chance that Northwest Ohio has 5 of the best games in the state this week.
Yeah.
And, again, depending on what your view is, we are just really blessed to have really great football in this area.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
hopefully 1 to 5 state titles.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, realistically, people talk about there not being anything to do in Northwest Ohio. It's boring. It's there's nothing going on. Those are the people that don't pay attention to football. I mean, you got
or invest in communities and schools and things, sports.
And even if football is not necessarily your thing, the communities and the involvement and the social aspect and just the environment of being at some of these games is enough in itself to go. Whether or not you even care about the football game, there are people that go to just to support the community. There are tons of games this week that you don't have an excuse to not go see somebody playing somewhere and enjoy the community.
And it's great people watching.
That too.
If nothing else, go sit in a crowd that you have no rooting interest in and just watch. Just watch both.
Watch all the crazies.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah. For myself, I'm just excited another week of football. We're going to see a great game. And like we had said earlier, in Liberty Center, Milan, Edison. I always appreciate going to the games, especially, last week had a blast. I do all the videos and stuff like that. But, seeing the raw emotion from some of those kids, like there was one play in particular on the highlight video I put of Lincoln Krieger scoring a touchdown and just absolutely getting pumped up. Like, that's just so awesome, especially when you're right on the sideline there. The energy is contagious. And, Cal Schrader, too, popping off a couple big runs, interception, big plays, and seeing his ball of energy. And
Jaden punches the same thing.
Jaden punches. Oh, my goodness.
Actually got tackled. I had to kind of run out of the way because I thought I was going to get run over.
love watching the kids play. When kids are playing on the highest platform and, big-time games like this, it's unbelievable to watch. And, I really appreciate, it, and I don't think, necessarily everyone can appreciate it, but, all the blood, sweat, and tears that have gone in through the offseason, it's finally paying off for these teams making deep playoff runs. So just excited to see another week. Fortunate that we still have some Northwest Ohio teams still in it, and we get to cover them as well. But we'll continue to give them coverage as long as they're in it. So other than that, I got nothing. If you see us on Friday, say hi to us because we always like talking and always meet someone new. Last week we talked to a guy from the Chain Gang, and I kind of caught a little bit of your guys' conversation, but
professional photographer.
Yeah, photographer, and
he took pictures for NASCAR, and
I heard him say something about NASCAR. And the week before at Fairview, Ottawa Hills, I met another videographer there, and just hearing his story, and he got to go video the Georgia and Clemson game down south, and I'm like, man, it's cool the people that you get to meet and connections, and that's the best part of it too. So meeting new people and just talking, things related to football. So. Other than that, I have got nothing. So hopefully Keith Brown is healthy and alive and
can go with us Friday.
I know. So we hope him a speedy recovery. So last thing, we want to thank all of our sponsors: BSN Sports, Optimal Performance Fitness, Titan Sports, Marco's Pizza, Remax Realty of Defiance, Bat and Stevens Body Shop, Burkholder Taxidermy, DeLarber Concrete and Hauling, Drop Zone Pizzeria, Tenora Rams Live, Jimenez Basketball Academy, NWO Basketball, Building with Faith Construction, Ensign's Pub, Paulding Pancake House. Again, we appreciate all those businesses that help make our coverage possible. We'd also like to give a special thanks to Jeff Batt for allowing us to use his amazing facility here at Bat Stevens Body Shop for today's podcast. Stay tuned for the next NWO Sports Podcast in the near future, and thanks for watching.